Yeah, let's the middle with his fruit, you niggas. Till Wingle, let's go straight up in it. Pray God that offend you. Yeah, it's how we know that God is real. He made it obvious through his creation and our reflections of godliness. It's not that simple to say people are just ignorant. They have knowledge buried that's deep down inside of them. Won't go admitting what they know, they push the God, and also fear of judgment too. It's not just lying, it's believing in their own lie. Tell themselves I don't believe in God, their way show otherwise. To rationalize, they twist the evidence to fit their hate. For instance, twisting scriptures to convince themselves it's fake. And some will say that science proves there is no God, but really, that's using God's creation to run from him insincerely. They use logic to deny logic. They make truth claims to claim the truth is nonsense. It's an excuse game, they're locked in the subconscious. Ignore the obvious and make excuses to stay godless. This is self-deception. This is self-deception. No more This is self-deception. This is self-deception. No more self-awareness. No deep introspection. Be aware that there are levels to awareness. People will not always be aware that they're aware of this. It can be subconscious, it feels safe not to admit. And other times they know they are suppressing what's legit. And over time this puts their spirit to sleep and numbs it. They forget God on purpose for fear of guilt and judgment. Because the evidence for God is clear, there's no excuse. Self-deception makes them guilty through truth they chose to refuse. It's like a mother who won't admit her son's a thief. She knows he can't be trusted, but she acts like he is sweet. She worries about him at home, but tells people he's fine. She noticed missing cash, but it hurts so much she lies. That kid will grow into an uncomfortable truth. Instead of dealing with him when he's young, she let him loose. She could have changed the outcome, but it's too late. Her son becomes a monster because of fear she didn't face. They use logic to deny logic. They make truth claims to claim the truth is nonsense. It's an excuse game, they're locked in the subconscious. Ignore the obvious and make excuses to stay godless. This is self-deception. This is self-deception. No more self-awareness. No deep introspection. This is self-deception. This is self-deception. No more self-awareness. No deep introspection. Absolutes to deny God as the absolute. So you have no use to me, you're godless, and you have no truth. The habits you exhibit and the traits that you collapse into stand as proof in spirit of your death because you have no fruits. The line between what you think and what you know is broken. Like Oedipus, you cling to denial because of lies you've chosen. Like King Lear, you despise true love for a lie that's spoken. So it's clear yourself deceiving to hide your coping. It's become normal to deceive yourself about belief. Escapism is nothing new, but facing it sets cowards free. The power leaves you when you put up barriers of fable and disables overcoming that what's happening is painful. The fate you get is what you sow, and this you know. The seed you planted on this planet, plant it as you go. And they grow no matter how you feel about them. And if they're rotten, then you need to rip them out then. Self-deception seems to stem from trauma, but complex inspection leads to get you farther. In life some lessons hurt and times can get hard, but if you deceive yourself, you never leave the start. Just accept what you cannot change. Embrace what you need. Do a band-aid on an open wound. Don't abuse yourself no more cause you know the truth. Why would you lie to you? I don't get it. What good does denial do? Make you pathetic. Why not rationalize the truth? To be a legend. Selective memory and biases with no proof. Confess it. You don't know, do you? He is risen. That you know you do. Indeed, he is risen. The hold on you keeps you twisted. The facts you overrule lead you to forgiveness. Just practice some self-awareness. Know you. The logically and be fearless. Embrace discomfort, it will mold you. The ways that you suffer, now you see past the old you. If you don't face that which oppresses you, it compresses you. Don't let it move you to belief unless it's true. Express the roots of your issues, and then you step into a life of blessed truth. Correct yourself with every move. Self-deception seems to stem from trauma, but complex inspection leads to get you farther. In life, some lessons hurt times. Don't abuse yourself no more, cause you know the truth. Why would you lie to you?
This is a banger, man.
What good does denial do? Make you pathetic.
This is such a banger. Man, I wish I was good at music because apparently I have good ideas for songs. Welcome.
Okay, I'm real interested in this number one assertion you made because I've never seen it objectively proven.
Never seen it. So when we talk about proof, there's three types of proof. That's proof, there's three types of proof. Let's prove things. You have empirical proof, which is like science. There's rational proof, which is for things like math.
Which is
And then-
science.
What?
Math is also science, but go on.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is. Math is a science.
It's a pillar of science. Science relies on math, but
Well, math in and of itself is a science, but go on. I'm curious.
I forgot what I was saying now. What the hell was I saying?
You were trying to say math wasn't a science for a minute, but you were trying to, I guess you were trying to do some word salad thing to make Christianity proven when it's not.
It is proven.
Okay, then show it. Show where it is.
So like basically when we look at like the world, we can only understand the world, we can only do science. Oh yeah, I was talking about the types of proof. Yeah, so empirical proof, rational proof, which is like math, and then there's a foundational proof. And so the way we prove God is we would use like a foundational proof
Yeah.
where we would we ask the question like, what is necessary for us to even experience reality? And we kind of like, you work backwards non-linearly. Like most evidence is linear,
And
but
non-backwards intelligently. What?
we work backwards so we take the fact that we're having an intelligible experience, and then I ask the question like, what is necessary for that to be the case? And
Not God.
no, it is God, because
No, it's not. God
sure
isn't
it
real.
is.
No, okay. So you can replace the word God with unicorn or Thor or any other mythical thing, and the quote unquote argument will be a sound. That is to say, it's not at all sound.
No, because it relies on a revealed perfect attribute set that's unique.
But it doesn't.
The attribute set of Jesus would be unique. So
But Jesus was a normal man. He wasn't the Son of God because there is no God.
okay, but that's a claim, right? Could you defend that? Yeah, I don't think you could
I
rationally
mean,
support
you
that.
haven't defended yours, and yes, I can defend
I'm
it because he
trying
was
to.
he was a human being who existed. That his parents are known. There's the transcripts of his crimes, and he died. So he's a man.
But you're being uncooperative. So this tells me that you kind of
Uncooperative? No. It's an argument. It doesn't have to be caustic or harmful, but I made a
you're not-
claim and I backed it up, and you haven't. So I'm confused
okay, yeah, you are confused. Well,
because you're not making sense.
I think the problem here, though, it's like it's not an intellectual issue; it's a spiritual issue. Like you have
Right.
this-
And I have intellect and you have faith because you don't have intellect. Got it. Got it. No,
it's
it's
not
cool.
about.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, I get it.
You're,
I get
you're
it.
smarter than me. I'm not saying like I'm not very
Okay.
smart.
Good.
So
Okay.
it's not like an intellectual matter, but
Right.
it seems like you're hostile towards God. You're like not willing.
There
to
no,
listen.
I'm not. There is no God.
Okay. Well,
I'm hostile towards
this is-
Sasquatches as well then. I mean,
it's just-
I'm hostile towards your imaginary friend. In that I know it's not real. No, I mean, if you go out into the world with your delusions but don't do harm, then we have no problem. The problem is you theists use God to justify your bad behavior. In my experience.
No, we can't. Without God, you try to self-justify, right? But
No.
You can, well, that's wrong.
No, yeah, you're wrong.
I'm not wrong.
Straw man. You're using a straw man. God isn't necessary for morals.
Okay,
God isn't
well-
necessary for truth. God isn't necessary for intellect because God doesn't exist and all those things exist in his absence.
You're being very uncooperative, and you don't seem-
Uncooperative is a funny way to say beating your argument.
Okay. Well, you don't seem to be willing to listen to.
I'm listening.
anyone.
You're just not saying anything that's true. And when I correct you, you get upset.
You're not listening.
I am listening.
Okay. Well, you're just bickering with me at this point. So
What I'm doing is I'm not allowing you to straw man my argument. If you want to talk to me about what I believe, you should actually say what I believe, not simply tell me sentence fragments that are based in fallacies. Okay, can I challenge you a little bit, or are you going to be unwilling to listen to anything?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know how you could challenge me because
Okay,
you're
the Bible says God made all evil. So how do you reconcile
no.
that?
The Bible doesn't say that.
Yes, it does. In Isaiah, it says that. The Bible says slavery is okay. Is slavery not a sin?
No, the Bible says the opposite of that.
No.
Did you?
The Bible contradicts itself. That's a good
You're not
point.
letting me talk.
Well,
That's
you
why I'm
just
saying
said
you're being
nuh-uh.
cooperative.
You said
I
nuh-uh
was
when I quoted Bible facts.
I was trying to explain myself,
Go for it.
and you're not letting me talk.
You keep saying that. I said go for it twice now.
So Exodus starts with like the Israelites are being held captive in Egypt, and the first
Yeah.
thing God does is free them from captivity. And
Well,
so,
can
and you're
I?
not letting me talk at all.
Well, the first thing God does is he takes away the
Okay.
Pharaoh's free will. So already God is disproven, according to you.
Mhm.
Do we have free will, or did the God harden Pharaoh's
I
heart?
mean, are you in rebellion against God right now?
No, there is no God.
Okay.
Can you answer that, though?
I don't know. You're not listening to anything I say.
Did God harden Pharaoh's heart? Yes or no?
You've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That guy is really special. Hello, Darth.
Why don't you bring him back up? I'll talk with him.
Oh my God, he's not gonna last. Did you see how he's acting?
Yeah.
He's not gonna last a minute.
Did God harden Pharaoh's heart?
Okay. Yeah. Did the sun
Okay, so
rise?
we don't have free will.
Hold on a second. I'm responding to
I'm
you.
still
okay?
talking, dude. I'm still talking. You're interrupting me, man.
Yeah. Do you want to get
So
ejected?
does that mean
Look,
God
I'm a
doesn't give us free
moderator
will?
here. Do you want to get kicked?
I know if you kick me,
If
it'll
you
be because
don't,
I'm
look,
beating your
dude, do you
argument.
want to be just an arrogant little belligerent teenager, or do you want to remain on the panel and
No, I'm
conduct
not a
yourself
theist.
maturely? What's it going to be?
I'm
Look, if you want to be an asshole, I'll just kick
rejection.
you. What's it going to be?
All right. I'm not like you, man.
Okay, goodbye. Goodbye.
We are
This is
built
the
different.
face of atheism. They're cocky, they're arrogant, they're belligerent.
He wouldn't let me say. He'd ask me a question, and I'd say like 2 or 3 words, and then he'd start talking
Yeah.
every single time.
You know, it's interesting. I typed into ChatGPT the question. I said, when the 20th century English Bible translations translate the word slave, what is the Hebrew word, and does the Hebrew word simply mean a servant but has to be understood contextualized? It responded by saying that was correct, that the meaning of the word has to be determined by any given particular context within the passage. Okay? So although ChatGPT can be wrong about certain things because it's just collating information from the internet, it's just interesting that ChatGPT gives a striking contradiction to those people who say, oh, God endorses slavery.
Well, Darth, what they're doing here is a word concept fallacy. So one word can refer to multiple concepts, and that's what we have with the word like servant or slave. And it's the same thing with love, right? Because I could say I love pizza, or I love my mother.
Yeah.
And those are the same word, but it's not the same concept, is it? You don't love pizza like you love your mother, do you? But you would say, I love pizza, and
Was
you would
was
say, I love
Fred
my
the
mother.
guy who was just up here?
Fred,
Flatsmack.
yeah, he's of course
All
one of
right,
these.
I'm gonna mute him. Yeah. So see, this is the problem with most of these unbelievers. They're very cocky, and they think because they're cocky and they mock and they ridicule and they're nasty that there's some that places them on a higher ground. Yeah. Welcome, Josh. What would you like to say?
So I just want to start this off by saying I
Just
am a
hold on one
believer.
second.
Oh, all right.
Go ahead, Josh.
All right, so I just want to start this off by saying I am a believer in God and Christ. I do believe in the Bible and stuff. But I saw the thing about abortion is child sacrifice. How can you explain that?
Um, yeah, is abortion the ending of unborn children's lives because people no longer believe that human beings and the unborn are made in the image of God?
See, that's like there's contradictions to that though. So
That's
what
not
would
an
you,
answer to my question. If you dodge a second time, I'm going to instantly kick you.
what? All right, so
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
what?
Yeah, what?
So, guys, debate doesn't mean you get to come up here and preach and say whatever the hell you want. Debate is like a interaction thing, right?
Yeah, we
And
welcome disagreement,
if you're not
but
going to
we want
respond to us, like
yeah,
that's
we
really
want people to
disrespectful.
respond intelligently.
It's incredibly disrespectful to. It's like you're not even listening to what we're saying, and you're just waiting your turn to preach whatever agenda, ideology, or whatever you got. So it's what they do. This is what they do. Welcome ALG.
Hey, how you guys doing?
I do be fine.
Yeah, good. Now I'm a Christian. I agree with you guys on pretty much everything. Um, I just had a question. What is up with? Is it question to you guys? Do you guys think it's just about money as far as like all the debates, the majority on here, or I say a lot, are the atheists going against Christianity? Like it's so crazy because it's like they're saying it's like they're obsessed with atheists being obsessed with God. It's
Oh
like
yeah, they are. They're mental. They have mental and emotional disturbances, and they have this Viagra-induced hate fetish for God, especially the God of the Bible.
yes,
And you have to ask yourselves if they really believed in their not God world, then everything is a cosmic accident. Nothing would mean anything. And so every one of us are just simply the product of billions of years of happenstance. And so whether they oppose Christianity or not, it makes no difference. It's just all happenstance. So what it shows is their ministry of vendetta against the God of the Bible is inconsistent with their own model of reality.
I was watching one yesterday, and like it's funny to me how they just really all they're doing is sitting there reading the Bible all day. Like these atheists read their
I don't agree
Bible.
with you. I don't think they're reading the Bible.
Well, I mean, they are cherry picking like
cherry pick. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree
the
with you right
parts
there. They
about
are doing that. I
they're
was doing
reading.
it. Yeah.
But it's just funny. It's like ultimately what they're doing is they sit on their lives and they read the Bible. And some of these so-called atheists, it's like they're reading the Bible more than some of the Christians. So
Yeah.
it's like
yeah,
it's
I
just
I
stupid.
confronted an atheist earlier today with his alleged contradiction where John chapter 1 allegedly contradicts Mark 1 and Matthew about the baptism of Jesus. And I pointed out to him that John chapter 1 is not talking about John's first encounter with Jesus where he baptized Jesus. This is referring to a subsequent encounter, right? And the text is not unambiguously, unequivocally clear that it's referring to that first event. And then when we look at it closely, he's just talking about a second encounter Jesus has. But when I pointed this out to the unbeliever, they just don't care. Do you know,
yes, yes.
every time I've investigated an alleged Bible contradiction that they bring up, when I investigate it, I look what theologians, commentators, and lay researchers on the internet have to say. Every one of these contradictions evaporate.
Yeah, every time.
And because of their confirmation bias, I
Some of
said,
them are paradoxes, though, wouldn't you say?
no. What they are
Well, the ones they don't bring
when
up,
we
the
do
ones they bring up are dumb. But I think there are some with
once we
paradoxes.
do a cursory examination, some passages cause like, well, how can that be, or
Okay,
or
but like,
whatever.
but
But
the,
the
the
point,
the like God knowing the future and us having a free choice, that seems like a paradox from our
no,
perspective.
that's because people are using a faulty outlook on it. So, like William Lane Craig talks about, that most people will
What?
operate under the perceptual model of foreknowledge, that God looks into the future and he sees what's going to, but the future is an abstraction.
Wait, but I thought a paradox is just something that seems like a paradox from our point of view and isn't actually, or it seems like a contradiction, but isn't actually a
Well, I,
contradiction.
I wouldn't quite label it a paradox. I mean, if you want to label it, that's fine. I say that these are things that are problematic.
Or like the
Like,
Trinity is like sort of paradoxical
no,
for.
no, because look, I was just reading about this in Jonathan Safarte's commentary on Genesis, where he talks about there are numerous instances where the internal plurality of God within the unity of being is strongly hinted at in the Old Testament in a number of places. And nowhere
Well,
does the
yeah,
Bible say that God is a single solitary.
I'm
Uh,
with you, but I'm saying like it.
Yeah.
You know, like what's the famous Muslim argument? Why 3-1? Why 3-1? Why God put
because we're not
God?
saying God is one and three and in the same sense.
Can I
I
ask you guys a
know,
question?
but
Do you guys
anyway,
feel like
sorry.
they're? Oh, it's okay. Do you guys feel like they're abusing context?
Well, what they're doing is they're using their God-given intellect and cognitive apparatus to fulfill their confirmation bias against the God of the Bible.
Yeah,
But
it's,
when we
I would say
examine their reasoning, it always collapses upon investigation.
it's intentional dishonest use of language because they
Yes.
know very well that like words have more than one meaning. Like look at a dictionary, the word will have like 4 or 5
Look,
meanings.
what do they even care about the God of the Bible if they think he's a
Because they
fairy
don't
tale?
believe
Why
him.
why bother?
Exactly.
You know, I don't
I think
look.
it's
I
just
don't waste
demonic.
my time. I don't waste my time uh, going after the flat earthers. I just consider them completely unworthy
Yeah.
of even being ridiculed. It's a waste of time.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome, Stultify. What would you like to say?
Yeah, just a question for you both. Because I hear you talk
Yeah,
about
you
the
got to fix
Bible
your
in the.
microphone, please.
Oh, what's wrong with it? Is it?
It's kind of
It is a bit like I don't know, muffled or something.
yeah. It's like you're talking through cellophane.
Let me try a second. Is that better this time?
That's a bit
No.
better.
Okay.
Yeah, let's
Um.
work with it.
Yeah. Let me know if I need to change something.
It's okay. I have that happen with my ear pods. That's why I got a new headset.
Yeah. Sorry. I am needing to be hands free at the moment for house chores. But the the thing I wanted to ask, because I haven't heard you guys explicitly talk about it ever. How do you account for things like the oldest surviving manuscript of Mark that we have, ending at verse 8, and
But
not
that's
going any
admitted.
further?
That's admitted in the Bible, right? Like they put
That,
a
that,
footnote that
that's
says
not a
it.
problem.
Yeah, and all the
Most my
things.
yeah, most Bible scholars do not consider the last 10 or 11 verses to be a part of the original. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, for
And
sure. So if that's true, do you guys also agree with like majority of scholars that think that Mark that was probably the first gospel written?
Yeah, and
I'm just asking as we go here because I want to make sure I don't take anything for granted.
but
I
If okay,
isn't
sorry, go
that
ahead.
isn't that isn't that a good evidence that we're being honest? Like that we admit that this was added, and
yeah,
it's
For
it's
also
a
sure.
textual
evidence,
variant. That's all.
and it's
I don't.
also evidence that like we have so many manuscripts that we can know things like that, so we can verify that the Bible is like what Bonson says 98-99% accurate.
Yeah, and nothing in the last 10 or 11 verses is inconsistent with anything else
Usually
in
when
Scripture.
Usually when verses are added into scripture, they're consistent or they're pulled from other parts of the gospel. So there's nothing that's added that's like inconsistent with the gospel.
Is there somewhere else in Mark where it describes who went to the tomb and what they did?
So you want to bring up how many women went to the tomb?
No, no, no. I'm asking a question based on what you guys just said. I think it
No,
was
that
P.
was
Mars who
added
said
to
that it
Mark.
pulled.
That was added to Mark to put more to the story. It was taken from other gospels.
But
Yeah, there are
wait,
different references about how many people
They
went to the
just
tomb, but
add,
they're not
yeah.
they're not mutually exclusive.
They added onto Mark. The earlier versions of Mark don't have the part about the kind of the end of the story that the other gospels had. So they took from the other gospels and they completed Mark.
All right. Is there a
Okay.
point here? Because we have four other people that want to come on.
No, I haven't heard you guys talk about this, and you say it's not an issue, but I'm just curious
Yeah,
that
it's not an issue
if
because you
somebody,
haven't studied it. These are called textual variants. There are a number of textual variants, but none of these pose a problem to any of the fundamental doctrines of the Christian faith. Even Bart Ehrman, that creepy person, he is a New Testament scholar who attacks the Bible in a way that internet atheists do. He even admits in his paperback edition of his book that none of the textual variants detract or impede any of the fundamental doctrines of the faith.
I would agree with that. But I want to remind you guys of what my original question was, which was how do you account for that? And you said textual variants, but that doesn't really fully answer
What
my
I mean, how
question.
do I account for what? The last verses in Mark
I'd love to tell you.
is a text. Okay, have a nice day. Wow, you're just like the last time I talked with you. Okay, obtuse. All right, Fred, we're going to give you another chance. Now, are you going to apologize for being rude, Fred?
Well, academics have been, peer reviewing the Bible for thousands of years, but
Yeah.
these people on TikTok have figured out that, all these things. That Mark didn't write Mark, and John didn't write John, and
It's total just amateur stuff. Fred, are you there?
looks like he's connecting. I think sometimes if they've been waiting in the queue a lot, they leave and then it like glitches. So Pibble,
Hello?
he's been waiting for a while. Welcome, Pibble.
Hello?
Your volume's a bit low.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I would first like to ask you how you would prove Christianity objectively.
Do you want that? Take that, Darth.
I could barely understand him. I have a brand new headset, so
You can't hear him? I can hear him fine.
no, it was kind of mumbly.
A little
Okay,
bit.
so how would you prove Christianity objectively?
By looking at the propositional content that represents Christianity as a whole, it presents a worldview wherein God, who is the ground of all being, has a perfect attribute set, and that attribute set would be necessary and sufficient for grounding all truth, reason, and intelligibility in any discussion of actuality whatsoever, and that no other worldview can have that property set, right? So therefore, the Christian worldview, when correctly understood about God's property set that he reveals, is the only rational worldview to hold to, and any worldview that attempts to oppose that will end up in a self-contradictory situation. So we can prove Christianity through a transcendental argument, wherein any attempt to deny it is a performative contradiction.
Okay, so don't you think that applies to other religions, monotheistic religions?
No, they don't have the property set of the God of the Bible.
Okay, so then I have a question. If I understand it right, animals don't go to heaven, right?
No.
Okay, so how would you justify animal suffering from an all-loving and all-powerful creator?
Because God has a plan of imposing death and suffering to bring about the best of all possible worlds. So as unpleasant as it seems, it's a part of God's plan. So if you're going to say that suffering is some way inconsistent or contradictory to God, what you're saying is it's contradictory to his plan. Well, the Bible makes it very clear that it doesn't contradict his plan. So God has a plan to implement death and suffering after the fall of man in order to bring about his plan of redemptive history, where he maximizes the number of people who repent and believe in Christ and are forever redeemed.
Okay, so he has a goal, right, that he's trying to achieve by doing this, if I understand you correctly.
I wouldn't use the word goal. I would say God has a plan that he has decided to implement certain things, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in order to bring about the best of all possible worlds, which is maximizing the number of people who come to salvation uncoerced, going through that world. So, for example, probably before the flood, when the people lived for long periods of time and the Earth's environmental conditions were probably vastly far more pristine, people were more evil and became complacent. Whereas after the flood, there are increasing difficulties and unpleasantries along with a lot of good things. And this serves as an atmosphere to motivate people not to love this present world, but to seek God in the afterlife. So if you're going to say that animals, see, this is what you guys are doing. First it's human suffering, right? And then you realize that that's a fail, okay? Atheists and philosopher-bros realize that that's a fail. So now what you're going to is animal suffering, okay? Well, that's all the same a part of God's plan. God is imposing suffering on all the inhabitants of the earth to bring about the best of all possible worlds. And so what are you going to say, that God implementing death and suffering is incompatible with his plan? Well, how would you do that?
No, I would question that an all-powerful and all-loving being would have the powers to create a plan that doesn't include suffering and still gets out the best of the world.
Okay, you're not in a position to make that assessment. Are you omniscient?
No, I simply have
Okay,
logical
so God
reasoning.
has a plan where he is maximizing the number of people who uncoerced, okay? And so it might be the case that through people looking at this world, the implementation of death upon everything, it's a punishment, that people are reminded that there's a judgment day coming, okay? Well, imagine a world where there was no animal suffering, but human beings just pleasantly died in their sleep of old age. Can you imagine that people would be more complacent about repenting and turning to God for salvation? So you see, you're not in a position to say that the suffering, including in the animal kingdom, isn't fulfilling his plan. You're just a stupid human being who's cocky and arrogant and thinks that you're smarter than God as to what his plan should be.
Okay, so I think that this belief is sort of biased since
Yeah, you know what I find amazing is people like you. I mean that people like you, that you're so crazy in your unbelief that you think that you can question the wisdom of a plan that God implements. Are you able, in the feebleness of your understanding of the world, able to rationally question the wisdom of God in the plan that he has chosen to bring about the best of all possible worlds? Are you smarter than God?
Okay, so I
If you
see
don't
your
answer the
perspective.
question, I'm going to kick you. Are you wiser and smarter than God?
Are you looking for a yes or no? I don't think this is
Goodbye,
a yes or no question.
goodbye,
All right, so
goodbye,
you are
bye
biased.
bye. See, this is how delusional you unbelievers are. You're utterly delusional.
Yeah.
That you think that you're wiser than the Creator, and that, oh, well, he's all powerful, therefore he could have created a world, where there's no suffering. Well, you don't know that in a different world, let's say where there's no animal suffering, that God would be able to maximize the number of people. Maybe it's the case in a world without animal suffering and where there's just the judgment of death, where people just died, fewer people would repent and not take death, the afterlife, and judgment day seriously. So you're not in a position to make that judgment, but you sure are cocky that you're wiser than God.
Well, if God was good, our farts would smell like roses.
Yeah. If God was good, farts would smell like roses. You're correct. I like that. That's good. See, they're so blinded by their initial confirmation bias, their rebellion, that they think that they're wiser than God. I don't think, and neither does P. Martin. We're not wiser than God. We don't have the capability to be wiser than God.
I did not mean to add him. I think he was just... Why does it do this? I swear I clicked someone else. Isn't this guy you just talked to? I don't know. This thing is so glitchy, this app. Am I going crazy, Darth? Hey, are you who we just talked to?
No, I'm different.
Okay. Well, you might trick me. I don't know.
Well,
What would you like to say?
I could answer the first question real simply by saying
It's not a
a
question.
book, well, statement by simply saying a book with talking animals cannot be objectively proven.
Okay.
Well, if God
Sir,
can make
listen to me
a
carefully. When the
atheist
Bible,
talk, why can't he make
okay,
a donkey talk?
are you a talking animal?
No, I'm a
Exactly.
human.
So you're not an, okay, you don't believe in evolution?
No, I'm a human.
I asked you, do you believe in evolution?
No, I believe I'm a human.
Okay, goodbye. You're
I
done.
can only speak
Okay,
on what I
bye,
know.
bye.
It's
Listen, when you start acting like a 15-year-old, that's when you get kicked. You
that's
weren't
pretty
kicked because you
uncooperative.
disagreed. You kicked. You got
That's
kicked
very
because.
uncooperative. Yeah, that's he's
Yeah,
not responding.
we welcome vigorous and intelligent and mature disagreement. What we don't welcome are adults, especially adult males, acting like stupid, arrogant, cocky teenagers. When you're
Hi, I'm
asked a
a
reasonable question,
yeah.
you need to answer it.
Your argument is, "Hi, I'm a talking animal, and it's impossible for animals to talk. Therefore, God
Well,
can't
in the
exist."
Christian worldview, so for example, okay, so in Genesis, right, it talks about that the serpent spoke to Adam and Eve. But if you keep on reading, God speaks to the quote serpent, and he said, "The seed of the woman will crush your head, but you will bruise his heel." So clearly, what we have here is a very strong indication that the serpent was not merely and only a biological creature, but that there was some persona behind the scenes, not visibly seen by Adam and Eve, who was manipulating the serpent in order to deceive. And we can construe from the text easily that this persona is one that is not a mortal, because God is talking in the future that the seed of the woman will crush your head, but you will bruise his heel. Why would God
Excuse
say
me.
that to a mere biological snake that might live a couple of years? Okay, if that. So this idea where they mock, and by the way, talking snakes are not a problem in an atheist materialist worldview, because highly improbable things like evolution can happen.
Darth has talked to thousands of snakes.
Yeah, I do. I have talked with thousands of lying snakes. So the point is, when they object to a talking snake, first of all, they're objecting to a caricature or a straw man representation of what the Bible actually refers to as to what was actually behind the serpent that was speaking. So these people don't give a shit about taking what the Bible says in context. What they want to do is they want to unzip their pants and urinate over and against a caricature of what the
Excuse
Bible
me.
says. Welcome,
Could I talk
Neil.
now?
Yeah, are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I'm an atheist. I'm 18.
Okay, so
And I just want to first off say
is that your real picture?
no, that's a
Yeah, I didn't think
guy
so.
from a show.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah. I just wanted to first off say that I'm not here to like disrespect Christianity in any way, but I just have a few questions.
Yeah, hold on a second.
And I would like you to answer
Hold
them.
on a second. P. Mars, would you please block Vienna? He's spamming the text. He's a troll. He's a stalker. Please block him. Okay, Neil, go ahead and get to the point, please.
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay. I would like you to actually prove like Christianity is like proven. And I don't mean by saying that what the Bible says or anything. I mean, how can you convince me and show me that it's real?
You're
I want to
confusing
know
two
it's real.
different things. You're confusing objective proof with persuasion. In order to convince you, we would have to show you that your rejection of the propositional content of the Christian worldview that God has revealed, that your rejection of it is irrational, and that your not Christian worldview is utterly rational, absurd, totally
Okay,
immobilizing you from being able to make any intelligible statement without
before you say
acknowledging that
I'm
hey,
rejecting it,
hey,
I'm
hey,
not.
goodbye, Mr. 18, but you're really 15. Goodbye. Yeah. Okay. When you're rude and I'm trying to give you an answer, right? Okay. I'm not one of your peers at the cafeteria table, Mr. I say I'm 18, but I'm really 15. Mal Deconstruction, you said you wanted to speak with me. Why don't you come on up, Mal Deconstruction? Come on up. I'm waiting for you, Mal.
Yeah, come join us. Let's deconstruct.
Yeah, you had stated a number of times that you'd be glad to talk with me, so come on up, Mal. Mal, where are you? You said you wanted to talk with me. Come on up, Mal. Oh, here's another guy who lies. He says he'd be happy to talk with me. Okay, well, now's your chance, Mal. Come on up. Here, let's invite Mal up.
Mal, you're going to hell.
Yeah, Mal, come on up. We're waiting, Mal. You see, I show up on other atheist streams on a regular basis, right? But they don't want to come up on my stream or this stream. If you lie about my moderation, you're not going to. You're going to get either muted or blocked. So come on up. Okay, who did I boot that I was losing
You
to?
booted Fred Flatsmack. You booted the last guy.
Okay, Fred was booted because he was rude and obnoxious.
No, he wasn't.
Repeatedly. No, okay, I was listening to him talk with P. Mars, and when I started speaking with him, he was rude and obnoxious. Now,
That's
if
not
you
the way the
lie,
crowd
listen to me
sees it.
carefully. If you lie right now, I do not tolerate liars. If people
Okay.
respectfully disagree, I understand that. But being that I'm probably old enough to be your father or your grandfather, I don't put up with people coming on TikTok and outright lying and trolling. Fred
I
was
don't think
clearly rude. I'm not done. Okay? Now, did you listen to the entire interaction
Yes.
between Fred and myself?
Yes,
Was
I did.
Fred at all being rude or obnoxious with me?
No.
Goodbye. You're done.
I knew you'd boot me.
Bye. No,
I knew you'd
bye.
boot me
No,
because you're a
I'm
liar.
blocking you as well.
Oh,
Bye.
because you're a liar.
Bye,
Because
little
you're a
boy.
liar.
Yeah, I don't put up with this nonsense, okay? Yeah, I don't put up with that. I don't put up with that bullshit. Hans Scolo, come on up and explain. Oh, he's blocked. Okay, we're going to mute his account instantly. Okay, isn't it a coincidence how many people are trolling the text, and when I look at their account, they're already previously blocked by me? Isn't that interesting? Okay, it's that simple.
Let's hear someone else.
Okay, Mark, you're getting blocked. Okay, I'm tired of these people. They're so vile. All right. Okay, do me a favor. Would you block Theistic Essentialists for being obscene for the umpteenth time? Let me know when you block them.
I blocked them.
Okay,
you can
good.
block them too. When you remember when you block, it'll block on my
He
account.
he already was blocked, and he's still
No,
showing
but,
up.
But you can block him twice.
Oh, okay, all right. I keep forgetting about blocking twice.
Yeah.
Look, all you have to do is come up here and conduct yourself intelligently and maturely, and we can debate and disagree as the day is long. By the way, how is my okay, would you do me a favor, block your buddy?
That's their name? Oh.
Yeah. These people are they're sick in the head.
I thought you were telling me to block my friend.
No, his name is your buddy on the screen.
I got it.
Yeah, don't troll me, Mal, or you won't get the opportunity to speak with myself. I don't put up with people trying to antagonize me. Okay, Mal? You're nothing special. You're just another one of the village idiots on TikTok. One thing I have a reputation for is I don't put up with people being rude. I don't put up with people trolling, harassing, stalking. Okay. Okay. I think we're on a mute frenzy today. By the way, how's my mic?
It's good.
All
Did
right.
you get a new mic?
Yeah, I don't want to get a replacement for my earpods until the new ones come out in September. So I bought a wired Apple earpods.
Oh, that's what I'm on too.
Yeah, the Apple earpods are really good, and they're $20 from the Apple store, and they're really, really good.
I
So
had some, and I was like, well, it's gonna sound better if I use the earbuds because the mic is closer to your mouth.
well, the mic on the ones on the wired ones, they're just as close to your mouth.
That's what I'm talking. Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. Aren't you on a wired one? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm on the wired one right
Yeah,
now.
that's what I'm saying. On the wired one,
Yeah,
the mic on the ear ones, the mic's not close to your mouth; it's in your ear. So that's
yeah,
why it
and
doesn't
also it
sound.
depends on the angle that you put it in. It sometimes can affect it. But my AirPods ones are generation one, and they're 4 years old, and like
There's
the bass is shot in the right ear one. The microphone. Hold on, let's just mute this guy.
There's a little bit of latency too when you're on Bluetooth as
Yeah,
opposed to
yeah,
a
there
wire.
is.
I don't know
Yeah,
if that
so
makes a big
yeah, there's
difference.
pros and cons with the wireless ones. The third generation AirPod Pros may come with a new chip in it that produce greater performance. I'm trying to remember what the name of the chip is.
Apple have pretty high quality stuff.
There's a special chip that they put into the AirPod Pros. I can't remember what the chip is called.
My cat is kind of exposed that their wire quality isn't the best. Welcome, Ken.
Hello, I have a problem with the first prompt.
Oh, you do? Okay.
There's 40,000 denominations of Christianity, all with their different beliefs, and they all contradict each
Stop
other.
right there. How old are you?
21.
Okay. How much have you researched about the number of denominations?
Like individually, I've not gone through all 40,000
What kind of
denominations.
research have you done
I
dealing
keep
with the total quantity of denominations?
hearing people saying the
School, it's talked about in...
Okay, so the answer is you've done squat diddly. If you actually investigate this, the number of denominations comes from one primary source, who's the author, whose name escapes me at the moment. But when you actually look at it and you look into it, he counts one denomination for every iteration of a group in a country. So if you have the Methodist Church in the United States and the Methodist Church in Canada, that counts as two denominations. Therefore, if you have Methodist Church representations, let's say in 120 or 130 countries or 109, however there are, let's just say it's 100, then you have 100 times the denominations if they're representative in each of these countries. Were you aware of that?
Partially, but some of these beliefs...
No.
in each
You were.
denomination-
So what do you mean partially? What kind of a not sincere answer was that? So you were aware that the 40,000 number one is grossly exaggerated
you just
due
try
to the fact that
manipulate
a
us?
denomination is an iteration of a church group in every country where it appears. So you were aware of that?
You're not telling the full story, though.
Goodbye.
because
Goodbye.
some of
Okay.
the-
The moment you're uncooperative, it means that you're utterly deceitful and you don't want to admit your mistake.
Where do they grow these people?
Yeah, I can hardly hear you.
Me? Oh.
Yeah, you got to get closer to your mic and speak a little louder.
Huh.
Okay, so once again, these people, there's 40,000 denominations. They're not realizing that this number is vastly multiplied by the criterion that the guy who wrote that material did for denominations. So, for example, if you have, like I said, the Methodist in the United States, Methodist in Canada, in England, Australia, Germany, that counts for 4 or 5 denominations. Okay? So the number of denominations that they cite is vastly exaggerated. but he didn't want to admit that he didn't do proper research. Thank you, Dean. I like that. I try to make people happy. People don't want to admit when they've been caught not doing proper research.
Well, he admitted there that he knew what you were saying was true, so he's like straight out. That means he was trying to be manipulative, like blatantly manipulative.
Yeah. See,
Like,
here's the deal, folks. You can come up here when I'm moderating, if I'm on this stream or my own stream, because P. Mars is very gracious to give me a lot of leeway in moderation. And he loves playing the Mr. Rogers theme when it kicks off. And I enjoy it too. I love hearing that every time. It's very satisfying. But one thing I will not tolerate, okay? I will not tolerate people being devious and deceitful with me. I think that's vile and disgusting. If you want to come up here and tell me I'm wrong and we can debate about things, and you want to offer a vigorous rebuttal, even though I don't agree with it, that's fine. But the moment you start responding to me in devious and deceitful responses, I'm done with you. Okay, I'm gonna kick you. What is the point of me interacting and debating somebody who is being deceitful?
Can I make a comment on that last guy as well? He said all the denominations contradict each other. But a distinction needs to be made between contradictions that are theologically irrelevant and contradictions that are relevant. So, for example, you might disagree with Calvinists on their view of the depravity of man, but that's not a contradiction that you would say would mean that they're not Christians. You would still say that they are Christians, even though there's a contradiction or a disagreement on I don't know if you call it a minor doctrine but it's not an essential doctrine.
Yeah, if you look at the main
it's an irrelevant issue because the indictment also falls upon them because they too are in a subcategory group disagreeing with all the other groups.
That's true.
So when they say, the Methodists disagree with the Catholics and the Catholics disagree with the Independent Baptists, and you disagree with each one of them as well in terms of your model of reality. So we can look at these denominational statement of faith as models of reality. So what they don't understand is that the criticism that they're dispensing also applies to their unique outlook and model of reality.
I would also add to that, like, Jesus
your mic is very weak.
Is it?
Yeah.
What the heck?
I have the volume cranked up, and I have both earbuds in both ears.
Should I talk louder?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the first guy I talked to today, he talked about this, that we disagree, but I think that's like a strength, and that's also consistent with the worldview Jesus talked about. He came to divide. I don't think we're necessarily as Christian all supposed to be like lockstep in full agreement with each other. I think it's healthy to disagree. That shows that we have freedom and free will.
But also, it's also a mark of what is called apostasy. And apostasy is a theme that runs from Genesis all the way to Revelation. So when we have the truth of God, what we should expect is that there are those people who not only oppose God's revelation, but then there is the theme in the Bible that those who claim to be loyal to God, but who are not in actuality loyal to God, distort and misrepresent the truth of what God has revealed, right? And Jesus and the apostles warned that there would be many of these people, okay? So bringing up all of these disparate denominations does not pose any kind of a problem to biblical Christianity. Welcome, Ula. What would you like to say? Or Eula?
Yeah, it's Ula. You pronounced it right the first time. First, thank you for bringing me up. Appreciate it. I was just perusing through. Christianity is objectively proven. Yeah, I think Christianity is objectively proven. Also with many secular manuscripts, 100%. We can go through a list of them maybe a little bit later. Number 2, atheism is irrational. Yeah, I think atheism is irrational. I could see where agnosticism could be more rational.
No,
agnosticism
no,
being
that's
more so
incorrect.
of a
No, that's
situation.
incorrect. Are you a Christian?
I am, yeah. So
Okay,
I'm kind of coming from so
does the Bible teach that one can be neutral toward God?
no. So what I mean by so I'm just
Can
kind of
you
going
answer
through
my
the list real
question,
quick.
please?
I'm
Does
sorry,
the
I didn't.
Bible teach that you can be neutral toward God?
No, it does not. It says not to be lukewarm.
No. Does the Bible teach you can't be neutral toward God?
Does the Bible teach that you cannot be neutral
Yeah, that
towards God?
neutrality with God is impossible. Does the Bible teach that?
The Bible teaches not to be lukewarm.
Okay,
So if you want to
goodbye,
deal with
goodbye. You're done. When I ask you a clear question that will shed light on the veracity of your position and you completely dodge it, then you're gone. You weren't kicked because you disagree. You were kicked because you deliberately and blatantly were being evasive to my question.
I have
Look,
here in the background the answer to that, right? The self-attesting Christ of Scripture does not permit neutrality. All reasoning is either submissive to him or in rebellion against him.
that is a fantastic quote. Yeah, stink butt. Yeah, what a loser you are with a name like that. Okay. So the bottom line is, I don't kick people because they disagree. I kick people when either they're being rude, obnoxious, or they're being obviously deceptive and evasive with me, because I can't carry on a conversation or a debate with somebody who is committed to being deceptive. Right? I don't tolerate that. Christianity is objectively proven that when we look at the revelation of God propositionally that he's given to us, codified in the Bible, it shows that the property set of the Christian God is exclusive and indispensable for grounding all truth, reason, intelligibility, and any discussion of actuality, thereby demonstrating that it is the only rational worldview to hold to. If you don't accept that, you're going to have to explain your model of reality and how, on the grand scale of things, it provides for truth, reason, and intelligibility, which you won't be able to do. You're not going to have a grand unifier, okay? You're going to have a grand unifier of everything, ontologically speaking, in order to have truth, reason, intelligibility. No grand unifier, no intelligibility. Welcome, Mocha. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I'll invite them. Oh, there they are.
Say that again.
Yeah, I said, are you an atheist, and how old are you?
No, I am a Christian. I'm over 40, and but I still wonder about what you might think about something.
I'm listening.
How are you with examining the Bible according to the timeline?
Can you get to the point, please, instead of being cryptic?
A lot of things that you say sound cryptic to most people because they don't know.
Okay, goodbye, sunshine.
I liked your hat, though.
Yeah. Parakeet, would you get an avatar, please?
I promise I'll get an avatar when the day that an atheist gives a rational justification as to why God doesn't exist. I'll get an avatar. I promise at least I will get one by then.
All right, listen, I will be right back.
Okay, I got some zingers from Greg Botson I was working on. Where did I put them? No. Oh, here. You talk about reason and evidence But under your worldview, you're just rearranged pond scum trusting electrical accidents in your brain. Darth might actually not come back. A lot of times he says he's coming back and then he doesn't. There was like a debate I did want to review. You need logic, morality, and uniformity to argue. None of those make sense without God. You're spending divine currency while denying the bank exists. If you don't start with God, you end up with absurdity. You can't even explain why the future will be like the past, but you expect me to take your argument seriously? Without an ultimate reference point, you have no reason to trust your own mind, much less debate someone else's. The fact that you're trying to argue proves my point. You're relying on a rational order you can't account for. You keep talking about truth, but what does truth even mean if you're just a cosmic accident? You say logic like it's just there, floating in the air. You're using invisible, immaterial, universal standards while claiming the universe is a cosmic accident. That's not rational. That's insanity dressed up as science. Oh, Darth is requesting up again. Without an ultimate reference point, you don't even know if you're debating or just hallucinating words in a meaningless void. That was a pretty good one.
It was weird. Yesterday, I kept on getting this weird when I would screen and audio record, not on my own stream. It was bringing in the audio from my only video on my profile, and ChatGPT did not solve the problem for me. I went to Gemini, Google Gemini or Gemini Google, and it gave me a list of things to do, which I followed, including restarting my phone, eliminating the cache, and then it worked. This AI is fantastic. It would have taken me hours to just a normal Bing or Google search to figure that out.
Atheism is intellectual looting. You rob meaning, morality, logic, and truth from the Christian worldview, then pretend you earned it.
I like that one, intellectual looting.
Yeah, Paraduper. Why don't you be a good friend and just get an avatar? Like, how about Mr. Rogers? Pick Mr. Rogers. Or how about this? Just do a Google search on the Toxic Avenger. Remember that?
Oh, yes. Yes, that was a long time ago.
You remember that? That was so funny. Remember how he accused you of being the Toxic Avenger?
I was typing to him in chat, and he said I was toxic, and we went back and reviewed what I said in chat, and I said like two things, and they were both very minor.
Yeah, so look, there's two good ideas. Get a picture of Mr. Rogers or just get the Toxic Avenger.
I can tell this means a lot to you, Darth, so
it does.
I'll think about it.
I don't like looking at a generic avatar.
I think it sets me apart.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'll do for you, Darth? Is I will actually take a picture of the generic avatar and make that my avatar.
Put a mustache on it.
Just put a mustache.
God. Yeah, that'd be funny with a mustache. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
What Gavin?
Yo, Barch, thanks.
You have to be 18, dude. Tell your parents you're talking to adults on the internet.
Well, I'm glad now I figured out how to with the wired headset now with the screen and audio recording. So now when I go into other streams, so I'm going to be uploading more videos of myself interacting on other people's streams.
Saw you put up that your first ever video, or at least I think it's your first.
Yeah. I came across another video where I spoke with Fiasco Peterson, and I asked him what his ground of all being was. Since it's not God, what is it that is the basis of what is and what cannot be? And his answer was Spanky.
I like how Peterson says Darth is obsessed with him, but he's the one who's got like 7 or 8 videos on Darth.
Yeah. It's because from time to time I reference and criticize him, just like I criticize a wide variety of regulars on TikTok and YouTube. Does that mean I'm obsessed with each and every one of them?
He's got a large platform for someone who's like so ignorant. Like he's such a good example of ignorance that gets a lot of attention. So I think he's a good.
I was listening to Dr. Blitch, and give his new. He's trying to rip off Gödel's incompleteness theorem and then apply it to epistemology, and and then that thereby saying we can't make a statement about God because we would have to have an infinite regress of a meta epistemology. I mean, it's just these guys don't realize how stupid they are when it comes to this.
That's assuming that all facts are derivative, though. In that thinking, we have a closed system where we have a fact that's eternal.
And another thing is this: they're making a universal. How do they establish any universals?
Ian debated.
That's true. That's true. That is a universal
got somebody
claim
flashing
that all
on your
systems
screen there.
Yeah, that's just YouTube.
Okay.
But I was gonna go on cam today, maybe.
I didn't think that about how Gödel's incompleteness theorem is a universal claim that about all systems. That's very interesting.
Of course, it's a universal. Boy, that's a big Grizzly Adams beard, man.
Yeah, I probably should chop it down pretty soon. It's getting pretty long.
Do you know what? I've never grown a beard in my entire life. Ever.
I grow a beard because I have no chin, so I'm trying to like hide it, right?
Oh, that's like George Lucas.
Ian debated Rasul last night. I've been trying to like help Rasul do the precept thing, but I don't know. He did a divine conceptualist argument. Is that a type of a precept argument?
It can be, depending on how it's a thing. But usually, I don't think we should do that because much of this is going over people's heads. And even for those unbelievers that can understand it, they just ignore it and then they just rabbit trail. So it's a waste of time.
Yeah, it's like we should not try to be Phil bros, right? So Ian went the like, oh, I'm a Platonist, and then Rasul.
You know what? As much as I am contemptuous of him, you have to feel sorry for him at his age. He's just really dumb.
And so Rasul brought up the fact that Platonism has the issue where like the Platonic objects are causally effete. And then Ian had some rebuttal to that I didn't really understand. He's talking about like disposition.
Yeah, the reason why it's a waste of time talking with Ian is because he'll just say the stupidest of stuff, knowing it's stupid, while the whole time pretending that he's saying something philosophically substantive. And it's just this is what many of them do. This is why it's so nauseating talking with them, because they're just not sincere and honest people.
Notice how he's willing to believe in an immaterial realm that exists, in tandem with the physical world, just as long as none of the entities in this Platonic realm are personal, right? As long as none of them are God.
And did the Platonic realm reveal itself to Ian?
But we got to remember too that he probably doesn't believe in Platonism. He's just saying this because he thinks it's. Like
they do this all the time.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying different escape hatches. They like take an adventure down an escape hatch and they realize it doesn't work and then they come back out and use a different door.
Yeah, they're just bullshitters.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome.
Hi.
What would you like to say?
Well, I would like to debate. Like to have a conversation.
Good. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I'm an agnostic. I'm agnostic.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay. Do you accept or not accept that there is a God who has made himself obvious?
Um, I would say that I don't believe in the.
Please answer my question.
I'm in the process of
Do you
answering the
accept or
question.
do you not accept that there is a God who has made his existence obvious?
The question's a true dichotomy, so it's a
Yeah,
really easy
yeah. It's a
answer.
simple question. Do you
Um,
accept it or not accept it?
I would say no. I would
Okay, so
say
then
that
that's a denial that there is a God who made himself obvious. So when you claim that you're an agnostic and that you don't make a judgment about God's existence, you've decided that that God doesn't exist, correct?
yeah, I just would
Okay,
say
so you're
that.
not as neutral as you claim.
May
Did you
I
hear my
talk?
Did you hear my statement? Can you please respond? So you're not neutral like you claim because you've decided that that
I
God
never
doesn't
said I was
exist.
neutral.
Yeah, well, what do you think an agnostic claim is? An agnostic claim is a claim of neutrality. I don't know whether God does or does not exist. Do you believe that God exists, or do you believe God does not exist, or do you claim to be neutral?
So the way my belief system works is
Goodbye.
so if I,
You're being removed not because you disagree, because you showed a pattern of behavior that when I ask you a very simple, clear question, okay, that is succinct, it's clear, right? And you're just giving me a preamble ramble, then you're wasting my time.
So
Okay?
Cam, it's not so much I'm like talking shit about Ian. It's just that Ian puts clown makeup on, and then he does his live, and he acts like a clown. And so I'm just calling a clown, right? That's all I'm
Yeah,
doing.
don't bring him up here because he's a troll. He
Exactly.
has made obscene and slanderous statements toward others and myself. So he's blown his opportunity to come up and talk. No, we're not bringing him up. Number one, he's a dope. Number two, he's somebody he has engaged in slander and defamation. So we're done with him. I'm still waiting for Dr. Blitch.
Hey,
You know
Darth
his.
Dawkins, I saw a picture of what you really look like. It was sent around in my Discord chat.
Yeah, do you have something substantive to say?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say that I'm an agnostic atheist and y'all can suck it.
Okay, so the problem with that is that's a contradiction in terms. So in
What?
philosophy, if you go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, it defines atheism as the denial of God. If you go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, it defines atheism as basically the denial of God. Now, are you using the
Well, that's not
standard
what
definition?
atheism is.
Please do not
Atheism is a
interrupt
lack
me
of
while I'm
belief in
speaking.
God.
If you continue to interrupt me, I will kick you.
If you
Okay?
continue to
Now,
start
okay,
lies, I'll
goodbye,
continue to
goodbye,
interrupt
little
you.
girl. Tell mommy and daddy they
Goodbye.
failed to civilize you. Well, I tried to ignore her immaturity, but she decided she just wanted to leave no doubt as to her dopiness. So she's gone. She's not gone because she was disagreeing. She's gone because she was being rude,
You,
obnoxious, and trolling.
I kind of like her.
no,
Let's be nice to her. I like her.
you had to kick her, Darth, because she really knocked your socks off by saying she saw a picture of you.
Yeah.
Tag isn't true because I saw a picture of Darth.
Yeah, if you troll, hold on a second. If you troll in the text chat, you're going to get instantly muted.
You're echoing Austin.
Yeah. Just so you know, P. Mars and I don't tolerate, and even more specifically myself, we don't tolerate people trolling in the chat. So you're going to get instantly muted if you troll in the chat. It's that simple.
Let's let Cam troll though. I kind of like Cam.
No, I gave her an opportunity. She revealed that mommy and daddy did not civilize her. Okay. Wasn't he just up here?
He was echoing. You gotta fix your echo.
Give me 1 second. Let me fix my headphones.
Good, Saint. Let me know how the read goes. It's a great book. By the way, the editor of the book Pillows is coming out with the sequel in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that book. Go ahead, Austin.
Oh yeah, so am I.
Yo, why are you guys so scared of Ian though?
Okay, bye, dude. You're done. Okay. Yeah, by a little, yeah, giggling like a little schoolgirl. Okay.
I'm in Ian's
We're not
Discord.
scared. I have attempted to converse with Ian about 4 or 5 times. Each and every time he conducted himself like a complete horse's ass. Okay. And he engaged in slander, obscenities, and defamation. So I gave him multiple opportunities to conduct himself like an adult. And another thing is, once it becomes clear to me somebody has what looks like a dead animal on their head, I don't want to talk with them.
I'd be happy to talk to Ian, but I don't know. I don't really want to go on his live. But I'm in Ian's Discord. We could do a text debate, and Greg Dodson could eliminate
welcome, Just Tucker. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I'm 38, and yes, I'm an atheist.
Okay, can you tell me why you're an atheist?
Because you're a dumb piece of shit.
Yeah, you got to speak louder,
You're a fucking
please.
pussy. You're a little pussy.
That's an ad hominem.
I'm waiting for you to explain. No, actually, it's not. That's not an ad hominem.
No, it is because you asked him.
Who cares?
It is an ad hominem.
You're a pussy little bitch.
It is an ad.
You're a pussy little bitch. You're a pussy little bitch.
Okay, this is the face of atheism, folks. There you go.
Darth, it was ad hominem because you asked him why are you an atheist, and he said because you're a dumb bitch. So
right. So in other words, God does not exist because.
So you were taking his characterization of me as an argument. Okay,
that's how it was framed. He said,
okay,
why are you an atheist?
Then you would be correct. Then I retract saying it. I wasn't taking what he said as an argument.
Okay. Well, that's what he said. Because you're dumb, I'm an atheist.
Okay, well then you're correct.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we both know that he didn't actually mean it as an argument. He was just, vomiting his body.
Right, but I was being pedantic or technical.
No, it depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at it from your point of view, then it would be an ad hominem if it was an argument. But we both know that he really wasn't intending it to be an argument. Okay?
Now, if he did have
hold on a second. I don't think talking about Ian's very poor choice in wigs or toupees as a slur. Okay.
I think if he did have an argument as to why God doesn't exist, he would just have given it.
Yeah. Well, this is why we do not see routine, intelligent, mature unbelievers showing up. We just don't see it.
I think we should respect the dead homies, so we shouldn't talk about.
We should respect what?
We should respect the dead homies.
So the dead homies.
Yeah, the people.
Yeah, the brothers who have fallen.
So, that's why we should not really make fun of Ian's hair because it. But anyways,
I'm not understanding you. The dead homies.
It's a bad joke. Never mind.
Okay.
It's a generation millennium thing. Oh, wait, we just talked to this guy, didn't we? I think I added this guy by mistake. Like you say, it's like a dead animal on his head.
I said it looks like a dead animal.
I thought aren't they made of that? I thought that's what they're made out of.
I don't know, but it's just you're better off wearing a baseball cap.
Hey, if Ian is such a dope, why don't you have him on and just convert a few?
Were you not listening to what I said earlier?
But if he's such a dope,
were you listening to what I said earlier, sir? Right? We're gonna try this one more time. If you respond to me like a teenager, I'm gonna instantly kick you. I asked you a question. I'll repeat the question. Did you not listen to my specified reason for not letting him up here?
You should win some souls over for Christ, listening? Right? He's a dope, so you should slam dunk him.
Goodbye.
I feel like if you're afraid of it,
you are too. Okay, you are too.
It's like they think if they chant it, it becomes true.
Yeah.
But just chant what you want to be true, and then it becomes true.
Exactly.
Well, they believe. Sometimes they'll argue that their thoughts make things real or something like that. Because they think of themselves as little gods, and they elevate their opinions. You got to convince me because if I'm convinced, then it's true.
One thing that I've learned over the last 15, 16 years of daily interacting with unbelievers is that there's a common thread through most of them of they're immature. They really are immature intellectually and emotionally. And that's why they behave the way they do. Okay, look, if you troll in the chat, you're just going to get muted. Boom, done. Welcome, son. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
Yeah, I'm 20.
Okay, can you tell me why you're an atheist?
Yeah, because Jesus lied.
Okay, and would you please support that?
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding that the Christian God is all-knowing, and Jesus claimed to be God, yet he didn't know a lot of things, so...
Okay, so let me ask you this question. If I were to grant that you have successfully falsified the Christian God, would that logically and necessarily sustain the denial of all gods?
Who's talking about all... I thought we were talking about the Christian God.
No, we're talking... wow.
Christianity.
Are you recovering from the flu? Because you certainly are having memory lapses. I asked you to explain your atheism.
Yeah, and we're talking about atheism versus Christianity.
No, what we're talking about is atheism is the view that there is no supreme being or creator God. So attacking the Christian God, even if we were to grant your reasoning, which we don't, it wouldn't follow from that there's no supreme being. So your first attempt was a major faceplant on the concrete.
You have no defense?
So, sir, listen to me carefully. Please give me a rational defense that there is no supreme being. If you repeat your opening line of reasoning, I'm going to kick you.
Okay, well, then I don't know for sure. I'm not...
Goodbye.
Atheist,
Goodbye. You just admitted that you completely failed. Okay? So notice that they have this Viagra-induced hate fetish for the God of the Bible. Okay?
Yeah, we just gotta, everyone has a bias, and I think our job is just to try to make them aware that they have a bias.
Yeah. Why is it that we see... I understand sometimes theists can be problematic on TikTok, but it's not the norm and it's not the majority. But why is it that the majority of unbelievers that we see, they behave just like just crazy teenagers? Yeah, well, I've been on Dr. Blitz's stream, and he was nothing short of rude, obnoxious, and abusive to me. I'm waiting for him to fulfill his commitment that he would come on my stream. He's welcome to come on here, and he's welcome to come on my stream. So he lied when he said that he was willing to come on, okay?
They're all, freaking out on me in Ian's Discord right now.
Who cares? They're grossly immature.
I think it's funny.
No, I'm not mocking his hair. I'm mocking his trying to conceal his lack thereof. Welcome, Savage. Are you an atheist?
How you doing?
And how old are you?
I am an atheist. I am 28 years old.
Okay, can you tell me why you're an atheist?
Yeah, I guess for the most part, I believe in conventional science. I guess one could say I've never experienced a divine moment.
How does that logically
I just lack.
How does that logically?
I just don't have the necessary evidence.
Yeah. How does that logically and necessarily follow that there's no supreme being?
How does that logically?
Yeah. How does what
follow?
you said? How does it logically follow from that there's no supreme being?
Well, I guess it doesn't, because what I said was
okay. So you just failed. You just failed, then, didn't you?
Yes.
Good. So you got anything else to support your God denialism? Because if you don't, I can only assume that you have a hate boner for God and you don't want to repent and turn to Him for salvation.
Actually, I genuinely disagree with that, because
okay, good.
Recently,
what is your rationale that there is no supreme being?
My rationale for there being no supreme being? Man, you guys are great. Honestly, I didn't expect to get this shaken up the moment I came in here.
Well, you're dealing with somebody who's been debating atheists literally almost on a daily basis for 15 years. So this isn't my first rodeo.
I would say, okay, well, I wouldn't consider myself an absolute crackpot who thinks that the entire universe is ones and zeros, but I've leaned towards a more simulated...
Look, I don't need you to filibuster and do a verbal kabuki dance. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to explain why there's no God.
Well, I mean, yeah, because, I mean, when you think about intelligent design, like what even is a penguin?
What even is a
Have
penguin?
you
Therefore,
recently
there's no
recovered
God.
from the flu or whatever? I mean, your thinking is so convoluted. I mean, are you just doing stand-up comedy at this point?
I don't necessarily
I mean,
think
you're
my
not
points on the
presenting
matter
yourself. You're not
necessitate you
presenting
like
yourself.
degrading me in any
You're
way, shape,
not
or form.
presenting yourself as a serious intellectual atheist. You're just giving me junior high school rationales. I'm
Well, to
treating
my
you
apologies.
seriously. Look, I'm treating you seriously, but you're treating this like you're doing stand-up comedy. I'm waiting for you to give me a rational defense that there is no God. Can you do that?
Well, first, I mean, do you have
Just
a
let him
rational
answer.
defense?
Just let him answer first.
Well,
Do I
maybe
have
he
a
do that.
rational defense?
I'm waiting. Because if you're not going to
I
give me a rational defense that there's no God, we're going to move on to somebody else. Can you do that?
that's probably best. I didn't come here with
Okay, goodbye. So another
unfortunately.
atheist fails miserably. Go ahead, Paraduper.
I was just going to say maybe we should check to see if he even has a rational defense first.
No, he doesn't. Okay.
Oh, Lordy.
I'm so glad that I'm now doing the screen saving and audio. So I can do that now with the wired headset, whereas with the choppy microphone.
You're recording these interactions?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That way I don't have to bother you if I want to clip something.
Hey,
Actually,
Darth.
I think I can give you the permissions to where you can just clip things if you want.
It'd be, yeah, I appreciate that, but it'll probably be easier
Yeah,
for
okay.
me to do. Just go to my save files. Go ahead, Mayflower. What would you like to say?
How do you feel about your co-host P. Mars recently being outed of having a?
Oh my God.
I'm sorry. Oh, did he? Oh my gosh! Somebody called the EMS. He had a heart attack. Okay, this is the face of atheism, folks. No intelligent opposition. None.
See,
How embarrassing for the atheist and skeptical community that they don't present themselves any intelligent representatives.
See, what's great about being a Christian is if you make mistakes in your past, you can be forgiven and made new through Christ.
Yeah. Like the Apostle Paul went around arresting Christians, and a number of them ended up being unalive because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Paul was trying to destroy Christ, his church, and he ended up becoming one of the greatest Christians of all time. So God can work in sort of mysterious ways and use a sinful person for his purpose.
So once again, folks, another stream where the unbelievers are utterly embarrassed.
Can I make a comment on that last guy earlier? I mean, I just don't think it should go unaddressed where he says that Jesus didn't know something, so therefore he's not God. Do you recall that statement? Our position would be that Jesus is God incarnate, so he had two natures, a human nature and a divine nature. And so Jesus would have been omniscient in terms of his divine nature, but his human nature, correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, Darth, but in terms of his human nature, then there'd be limitations as to what he knew or didn't know. When he says there's some things Jesus didn't know, he means in any sense, there's things Jesus didn't know. But in order to establish that Jesus wasn't omniscient in terms of his divine nature, in that sense, he would have to first establish that the Christian God does not exist. So he's trying to establish the Christian God does not exist by a state of affairs. That to establish that state of affairs, he would first have to establish the Christian God doesn't exist.
All of this is lame, and none of it poses in the least bit any significant challenge to the credibility of Jesus' identity claims. Jesus has two natures. He has divine nature and a human nature. When Jesus had to learn how to walk and talk in terms of his human nature, he did not need to do so in terms of his divine nature. Slowy, if you spam, you're going to get instantly muted. Oh, look at that. He's spamming and his account is already previously blocked. What a coincidence.
Dr. Blitch is talking to me, and you remember he said didn't he say he was going to go on your live?
Oh yeah, he promised that he would come on after dinner, and I told him I'll start at 8 Eastern Standard Time, and he was a no-show.
Why is Darth afraid to debate me on a platform where he can't mute me?
Okay, well I'm not.
And then
I already went on your platform, and you showed that you're incapable of conducting yourself like a mature adult.
So he says
you claim he claims he has a PhD in philosophy.
Yeah,
yet he
we all
can't
saw
conduct
that.
himself like a mature civil adult. The recording of my first interaction with him is up on YouTube, and everybody can see how horribly he behaved when I attempted to debate him.
So
I don't remember the details, but I remember he went into a complete meltdown.
We can play it. I'll play it.
No, I'd rather not. If people want to see it, they can find it easily on YouTube, right? I attempted to speak civilly with him. This is what happens. I go onto their own platforms, and they behave very badly. They don't conduct themselves maturely. He was evasive. He was deceptive. He was rude, and he was obnoxious with me.
So I told him you've been waiting for him to join your live, like you said you were.
Yeah.
Gonna do.
So I went on his live. He promised he would come on my live. And so far, he's a no-show. What does that tell you?
He said, I've made it clear I'm not debating him on a platform where he'll mute me and kick me.
Okay. Just like you debated me on your platform where you're rude, obnoxious, interruptive, and evasive. And you were attempting to repeatedly antagonize me.
What he's doing
so now what he's doing is he's now committed a lie. He said he would come on here. Let me finish. He said he would come on my stream, okay, in the text. And now he's backpedaling, okay?
What he's doing is it's empty posturing, right?
Yeah, it is posturing.
It's when a guy, you ever see guys who they act like they want to fight, but they really don't want to fight, but they want people to think they want to fight?
Well, how is it that I go on their platforms on a regular basis, okay? And most of them won't let me up, and those that do, they very quickly become abusive. Yeah. So, look, it's very obvious that he knows he can't hold his own where I'm in a room where I won't allow bad behavior. Welcome to Candor. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I am 24, and I am not an atheist.
What are you?
I am a Taoist.
Okay. So do you believe that there is a supreme being?
Yes.
Okay. Who is that supreme being?
It is known as the Tao.
No. The Tao is an impersonal principle.
Well,
okay.
Depending on how you view
is
it,
the Tao an agent?
Yes.
Okay. And so can you show me where on the internet, in terms of research literature, that the Tao is considered an agent, God, and supreme being, rather than the Tao as a principle?
The Tao Te Ching.
Okay, let me. Well, I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Let's see what they.
So this Tao is a person, like a person, not like a human, but a personal being.
It's not an individual. It's not a. It's more of like a concept and ideal, but it is ever present and ever existing.
Darth asked you. He asked you if it's an agent. An agent would be a person.
Oh well. Oh, I interpreted agent more like a thing that does something.
Okay, so either you're ignorant or you're lying. I just went to ChatGPT to confirm what I already know. ChatGPT came back and said, no, the Tao is a principle. The Tao is not an agent or a persona or a personal being. So either you're lying or you're ignorant. Which is it?
So I assumed you.
I
meant
said,
agent
which
as
is
in,
it,
like,
sir? Do you know what a question is? Which is it? Are you lying or are you ignorant?
He's ignorant of the term agent. He said that while you were.
Yeah.
No, I made it very clear. I qualified that as to a personal being.
So no, it's not a personal being. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry,
good.
I
So
misinterpreted.
now you're now contradicting your previous position.
Yes.
So when were you right? Then or now?
Now.
Okay. So you want to defend the Tao when you don't even understand. You didn't even understand up until a minute ago that the central conception you had for the Tao was wrong.
No, sorry, it's the word agent that I
No,
was
sir, stop
misinformed on.
lying. Okay, now you're lying because I just clarified, because earlier I said a personal being. Okay, I made myself clear. See, what I tend to do when I speak with people, I tend to be redundant for clarity. So I didn't just say an agent, I said a personal being. Okay, so guess what? Since you're not affirming and asserting that there is a single causal first principle that is a personal being and an agent, that makes you an atheist.
Well,
Okay?
that's
Okay.
okay.
A lot of Eastern religions are atheistic, like Buddhism and Taoism. They're atheistic. No, I didn't use it as a research tool. What I did was a quick and dirty confirmation from a neutral source. That doesn't mean ChatGPT is always correct. But when it comes to the simplest of research questions, rather than just simply depend upon my claiming my own education in this, I'm going to a neutral source. So anyway, sir, so the bottom line is you are an atheist.
Well, we do believe that the Tao is like a
Okay,
power.
you are an atheist, correct, sir? An atheist
would
is
not
somebody
use
who
that
does
term.
not affirm and denies that there's a supreme being who is a personal agent who created and sustains the world. You don't believe that, correct?
We believe it's the Tao.
Goodbye. You see, they cannot help themselves to being devious, deceitful, and evasive. Why didn't he simply say, yeah, you got a point, I'm an atheist? What they do is they lie. Okay? Look, you can come up here and disagree with us. You can tell us we're wrong. We'll tell you you're wrong. But if you lie, you're going to get kicked. Welcome, Cinder. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
Yeah, I'm a 26-year-old atheist.
Okay, can you tell me why there's no God?
Sure.
Listen, stop fucking around with me, asshole. Okay?
Hey, only I'm allowed to play clips.
And that's the intellectual strength of the atheist position.
This is the face of atheism, folks. This is the face of atheism. Okay, surprisingly, his account was already blocked prior. So this is all they've got is trolling. That's all they've got.
God does not exist because Darth gets angry and says sinful things sometimes. That's why God doesn't exist.
Yeah, you know what? I stand corrected.
My pastor today talked about how people will look at like Christians and like the bad things Christians do and then judge Christianity as a whole based on that. But those Christians usually aren't really followers of Christ. They have the label of Christian. So
yeah. Welcome, Rutger. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
Atheist, 37.
Good. Can you tell me why there's no God?
I don't believe in. I'm an atheist because I haven't.
Yeah, I can't hear you. Yeah, now it sounds like you're about all the way across a large gymnasium.
Yeah, it sounds like he ran away from his mic as he was speaking.
Yeah. It's a trap.
I don't know what happened. I can't hear you.
It's a trap. Did anybody get my joke?
I think it was Star Wars.
Yeah. The fish head. The guy goes, it's a trap.
They think that's what we're doing when we pre-sup. They think we're trying to trap them, but we're not doing a gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought of an analogy for that. They think that what we're trying to do, or like what Darth is trying to do, is lead them down a path, and then they're afraid that he's trying to get them to step in a trap that's going to trap their foot. But actually what he's doing is he's trying to get them to take their hands off their eyes and look down at their foot and see if their foot's already in the trap, because this is already their position. We're just uncovering it by asking them questions about it.
Have you seen the pattern of behavior that when I ask people questions, right, the nonstop evasive responses that I get?
My headphones connected, or my phone connected to a different speaker.
Okay, that happens. I'm just glad it wasn't a trap.
Yeah, so I didn't catch anything. All I got to was I said my thing, and then there was nothing else.
Yeah, so tell me why there's no God.
Who could have connected your phone to another speaker? Who could that be? Satan?
Bluetooth.
Yeah, but you got to say it like the church lady.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
And who could have done that?
I just don't believe because I haven't been convinced. Nothing has.
Okay, that's an appeal to ignorance fallacy. Okay, so what convinced you that you're in a God-independent world?
What do you mean?
Well, you have a criterion of belief that you need to be convinced in order to adopt the God-dependent world. So there's the God-dependent world versus the God-independent world. So
science is enough.
Okay, so how did science determine that you're in a God-independent world?
It didn't say that I'm in a God.
Okay, so that's a fail then.
Saying that there's no,
good. So that's a fail.
No
So, yeah, I don't need any more jibber jabber. So that was a fail. Okay, so if science did not determine you're in a God-independent world. So what is it that determined that you're in a God-independent world?
That's not the point of science.
You're not addressing my. Okay, goodbye. See you later. Hit the road.
Well, if that's not the point of science, then why did he bring that up as an explanation of what persuaded him that he's in a God-independent world? He's the one who brought science up.
Where do they go, these people? Yeah, it's
the
always
scientists say.
Yeah, they treat science like the absolute truth every time.
There's a Christian who used to have a name. At least I think he was a Christian. His name on Discord was The Scientists Say, but it was spelled funny, like the scientists say, right?
Yeah, that's a really good argument. The scientists say, whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome, the truth.
Yeah, this is the truth.
Oh, okay.
That's just my last name, nothing fancy.
That's a cool name.
Well, my name's actually True Fan.
Okay, are you an atheist and how old are you?
I'm not an atheist. I'm 50.
What are you?
53. A follower of Christ.
Yeah, can you get closer to your microphone, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was switching rooms. Going to sit down. So, I've never done this before. Is there something you need from me?
No, it's just that your mic quality wasn't good.
Oh no,
it's not a big deal. Sometimes my mic quality isn't good. Not a big deal. Okay, so what are you if you're not an atheist?
I told you, I'm a follower of Christ.
Okay, what would you like to say?
That in all of world history, all of science, all the teachings, or the whole world, we have the flood and all that, but there's only one man who rose from the dead. There's no other story. There's no other story.
Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. We agree that Jesus rose again from the dead.
Well, but he's not the only
people.
Jesus, there's other people who were raised from the dead as well by God. But yes,
right. But they were those were more resuscitations as opposed to having a resurrected body. Okay. Jesus is the
you're talking about Jesus' glorified body.
Jesus' body was a resurrected in more than one sense, in that his body came back to life from the dead, but it was a body that will never become corrupted again, which all true believers will receive at one point. those who were brought back from the dead, it was more of a resuscitation. They didn't receive a resurrected body that will remain and continue in.
I understand they're going to die again in the body that they were raised into.
Yeah. Right. Oh, by the way, I was looking at a page of alleged contradictions by the super genius Bart Ehrman, and one of the things he pointed out was where he says where the earth will continue forever, right? And so he says, well, it's not going to continue forever in either scenario, whether it's a naturalistic one or in a biblical eschatological one where God is going to destroy the universe and recreate it. So I went and I looked up the Hebrew. And the Hebrew word there does not always mean, without end. It just means in perpetuity. It will continue in perpetuity to a certain point, right? So being that he's a New Testament scholar and he's fluent in Greek, he should know better than trying to find a contradiction in the Bible when you don't go into the Hebrew. Because when it says the earth continues forever, in the Hebrew, it just means the earth is going to continue, okay, from our perspective, without stopping. Now, even, and the Bible is talking about, from God's perspective. So the world is going to continue, and the Bible says up to a point where God's going to destroy the current universe and restore it to its original pristine state. So the earth is not going to be destroyed and cease to exist. It's going to be recreated. So when he says that's a contradiction, it's not a contradiction. But they don't care about that, do they? They just like throwing mud against the Bible.
They're going to hell. It's funny how the mental gymnastics they do, because it's anything but God. They'll believe in the existential inertia, but not God's plan. Welcome, Water. Are you a Bruce Lee fan?
Yeah.
All right, there we go. What'd you like to say?
Darth is a little bitch. He's a little pussy bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you. You're a little bitch. You're a little pussy ass bitch. You're a fucking bitch. You're a stupid little bitch. You're a little fucking bitch. Bitch, 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 bitch.
You should just let him keep going, right, as the representative of atheism.
This is atheism. That was a good amount of time there. I
think
we got.
Sometimes I think it's great. Well, when someone's not being like that guy's not, screaming the N-word or anything, right? So you just let him keep going, and eventually he tuckers himself out.
Yeah, I like doing that sometimes. One guy had a join, and he would kind of he just went like, ah.
No, we don't want them to continue so that the AI doesn't think that there's abuse going on. That's why he was kicked. I'd be far more tolerant. I'd be far more tolerant of these people making jackasses of themselves as it wasn't for the AI censorship.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I am always curious as to how long they can actually keep that up. I just want to see. It's a curiosity. Yeah. Did we talk to Errata?
Yeah, when I was a kid, just like a lot of kids did, we would make prank phone calls and we would giggle and laugh.
Those were pretty fun when you were a kid. I wouldn't do them as an adult though. I don't think they're very funny as an adult. But if you're a child, yeah. Welcome.
Yes, hello.
Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
I'm not really sure what I would.
Okay, do you affirm and accept that there is a supreme being, creator God?
You don't really have to start off being rude, just so that
I'm not being rude. I'm asking you a straightforward question.
Do you have an answer to my question? Yeah, this is what you do, bud.
Okay.
Maybe he thinks that because you have a loud voice, that means you're rude.
They're really coming out of the woodwork today. Did I use that phrase appropriately?
Yep, that was right.
This is the face of unbelief and skepticism, folks.
like termites coming out of the wood, crawling out.
Right. But I really enjoyed what somebody just said earlier, how now Dr. Blitch said that, oh yeah, I'll come on your stream, and now he has different role. Oh, I'm not going to be muted by Darth. Well, what are you afraid of? I mean, I get muted all the time. What are you afraid of? You have a PhD. Well, you're so smart.
Well, the last time
you're so smart, you figured out that there's no God.
Well, the last time you spoke with him, he seemed afraid to let you speak at all. He kept trying to stop you from speaking. So maybe that's what he's afraid of.
Well,
that if he's muted, then you'll be able to talk.
Well, this is the one thing that they love doing is they thrive on completely straitjacketing the narrative. That way, if they get into trouble of any kind, they can always circumnavigate questions that expose the bankruptcy of their position.
Just like
There's always an out.
Just like that guy a few guys ago who said that science is what verified that he's in a God-independent world, and then he starts trying to argue about what the purpose of science is, and that's not what it's for when he's the one who brought it up. He tries to segue into
look, it's just rabbit trailing and filibustering and wasting our time. Look, any fool can rabbit trail and filibuster.
Well, I think that we're at an advantage as presuppositional apologists is that we already know that they don't have a rational justification. So we're already prepared for them to start rabbit trailing. Yeah. We know that that's their only option, so we're alert for it.
Yeah, if as long as you ask the right sort of questions.
Wow, people are really unhinged.
To answer someone in chat who I saw skim by there, yes, if you're going to assert that you exist, then you would need to just give a rational justification how that's true. Otherwise, your belief that you exist would just be irrational and arbitrary.
Oh my gosh, the people in Ian's Discord are really unhinged. Like, wow. Holy smokes. They're probably going to ban me. I get banned a lot. I mean, it's like telling the truth in a world of lies. No one is going to like you. That's crazy.
You got quite the crowd there protesting for you, P. Mars.
Yeah. The AI crowd. You ever watch X-Files, Parakeet?
Maybe I don't know, maybe one. I mean, I was old enough to watch it. I just didn't really care about it. Maybe I've seen one episode or snippets of episodes. I know vaguely what it is, but I don't really know anything else about it.
On the show, there's a famous poster that says "I want to believe" with a UFO on it here, and then I just added atheist Because these people are just like motivated.
Oh, that's what it.
reasoners.
Oh, that's the poster on the TV show.
From Mulder, yeah, on his office.
I want to believe atheism.
Right, because they're just motivated reasoners.
Well, you match the font very well.
Yeah, I looked up the font, so I got the same font.
How did you do that?
I just Googled like what's the font on Mulder's poster.
Oh, okay, good. You can actually do that by copying a font, and
he must have got a phone call. Darth loves to talk. Now he'll talk about fonts for like an hour.
Oh, stop! No, it's called What the Font. If you upload a picture of a font, it'll give you. It's called What the Font.
Oh my god!
PMARS, whatever you do not mention Apple. Just don't do it. You'll trigger him.
You guys are cruel. You're very cruel human beings.
I've gotten actually a lot of undesired education from Darth on Apple stuff. I actually have learned quite a bit.
I met some guys today at church, and the one guy was like 6'3", and the other guy was like 5'5", and they told me they're twins. I was like, really? Did you get all the bad genetics? And probably
Are they Were they fraternal?
Yeah, they must be because they're not identical. I probably shouldn't have said that, huh? But he laughed, so I don't know. Hopefully,
well, they're probably used to it by now. Yeah. You remember that was a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
That's what I was thinking
Danny?
of. It made me think of that movie was so funny. Like Danny DeVito was like Arnold took a poop, and that was that turned into Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito is quite a good actor. Did you know that he was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he played one of the?
Know that. He's really comedic. He's super funny.
He along with the other inmates at the asylum were very believable as crazy people.
Do you ever feel like you're starring in the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo Nest?
Yeah, when I deal with these people all the time, they're just maniacal, and they're crazy.
Remember on Discord, I don't know if they still do it on TikTok, but on Discord sometimes you get someone in and they just start screaming the N-word over and over and over for like 2 minutes straight.
Okay, confession, I used to
do that. It's so shocking.
I used to do that. I'm guilty as charged.
It's shocking.
Remember there's this one guy, I don't remember if it was in Darth's channel or someone else's, but someone came in and started doing that. And we all just sat there and listened to him. And he after a minute, he ran out of breath and he was like panting. And he was like working so hard to keep it up.
Oh gosh.
It's almost like if you just sit there and look at them for long enough, their own ridiculousness starts to set in on them.
Yeah.
Actually, before I was a Christian and before I was like friends with Darth or really.
Actually, I think the guy's name was P. Maybe it was kind of like yours, PMARS.
It probably you might be talking about something I did. No, seriously.
No, I'm kidding.
I actually did that before I was a Christian. I was in a room with Darth, and Darth was in Discord, and Darth had a glitch where he couldn't hear me talking, and so I started saying like all crazy like insults to him and the N-word and all this stuff. And he couldn't hear me, so he just kept on talking. And, like, it took people in the room to... No one said anything for the longest time, and it took people a while to realize, like, Darth couldn't hear what I was saying. That's pretty funny.
Right, I'm assuming that in retrospect that you hated Darth because of what he was presenting.
No,
like the Christian worldview.
No, I never really trolled Darth. It was just like, I was just being funny because of the situation where he couldn't hear me. And, like, everyone, like, takes him so seriously and listens to him, so I just kind of took advantage of that for comedy. I had nothing against Darth or anything.
Oh, so you didn't even know who he was?
I knew who he was, but I wasn't, like, an atheist or anything. I never argued against Christians. I was just having fun. I just did that to everyone.
It's really funny. It's really interesting.
The court jester's back.
You do it.
That was just the wrong guy.
Why did you bring the court jester back?
I forgot.
Court jester?
I forgot. Do you want to be a serious person?
I was a serious person the first time. I would just...
Okay, goodbye. Now you're getting kicked for lying.
That's an answer to that question.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't realize it was the same person, I guess, there. Margot, do we ask? Oh, I think I, you know what? I think I meant to click Margot, but it glitched. This app is really glitchy. I think I meant to click Margot is what happened.
Oh, it is. They don't. You can definitely tell that it's not done by Apple or Apple-minded.
Yeah, this app is
programmers.
Chinese as hell. You get my drift?
Oh my gosh!
Couldn't be more Chinese, man. Welcome, Margot.
Hello.
Are you an adult?
Yes.
Okay. Are you an atheist, and how old are you?
No, I'm not an atheist. I'm 27.
Okay, what are you, Margot?
I'm not a Christian.
Okay, Margot, what are you?
I'm Buddhist.
Okay, so you are an atheist, and Buddhism, classical Buddhism is atheistic.
Well, it's a way of life. Anyway,
Okay. So
I'm
are we
not
clear
debating
that, are we
religion.
clear? Okay, are we clear that you're an atheist?
This is a debate
No, I
live.
believe none.
You're not debating religion.
Margot, do you understand that when you refuse to affirm God's existence, then that makes you an atheist? Are we clear
But
on
I
that?
believe in God.
Okay, so you have a modification of Buddhism then. You're not a classical Buddhist then. You're a modified Buddhist.
Sure.
Okay, so go ahead. What do you want
No,
to say?
there was like point 4 that was stated that abortion is child sacrifice, and you believe that's wrong, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you have
do
an issue
think-
with God sacrificing his own son?
The
same
why?
thing.
Because that was an act of love, not an act of selfishness.
So being nailed on a cross is an act of love.
Yeah, that was an act of love, so that you can escape eternal damnation, which you're going to receive when your heart stops.
Okay.
Do you want to give God the double middle fingers and say that how he characterized that was not an act of love?
No, it's
when
not
the
an act of
Bible
love. I think it's
clearly-
quite sadistic.
Okay. So it's not an act of love to perform a substitutionary atonement so that sinners can escape hell. That's not
No,
an
why
act of
can't he
love.
just forgive him?
Okay, why? Because then that would not resolve the conflict between justice and mercy.
So you nail a
Okay,
man
there
on a
has to be.
cross to solve
Do you understand?
that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, for Margot, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay. So, Margot, have you done any studying in logic, philosophy, metaphysics, or theology?
No.
Okay. So, do you understand that justice and mercy are antithetical?
Okay, what's your point?
Okay. Do you understand that?
What's your point?
I asked you a question. If you don't answer it, I'm going to kick you. Do you understand that justice and mercy are... Okay, goodbye. 27 going on 14. Bye, Margot.
Yeah, I could tell by the answer she didn't understand what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe you should explain it for the audience so anyone else who is ignorant can understand.
Yeah, so if God is merciful, that means he withholds his justice. If he withholds it, okay? And if God is just, he will withhold mercy. So the substitutionary atonement provides a way by which God can fulfill his justice but be merciful to solve the conflict. Okay? Yeah, we're dealing with some real brilliant people, you know? All right, guys, I'll be back later.
Okay. What did Margot even want to talk about? What did you even want to talk about, Margot?
What? The stance on number 4, but he just got really weird and aggressive. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's pretty just simple, right? Like, you're sacrificing a preborn baby for women's bodily autonomy.
yeah, how's that wrong?
Because God values the baby as an image bearer of God. So human life is sacred and has value.
Sure, I agree with that.
Well, there we go. It's wrong for the same reason it's wrong. Like if I were to,
But I just find it
unalive you.
hypocritical.
How is it hypocritical?
Because you're a Christian, that means you believe in the Bible, God
Uh-huh.
God unalive David's son for a sin that the baby didn't commit.
Okay, but like,
But like what?
so there's a difference of authority between God and humans. So if I pulled you over, that would be wrong because I'm not a police officer. But if a police officer pulled you over, that would be lawful or legal, right? Because he's got that authority. So God, being the creator of the universe, has the authority to give and take life. And that's his judgment and wrath. And we're not in a position to tell God he is not the authority because we are just his creatures. And they left. Respect my authority. Rasul, I was actually going to review your debate on Ian. So I might as well do that, I guess. I think we should always be reminded of how silly atheism is and contradictory.
Why do you think it's not in your best interest to have stuff stolen from you or to be thrown off the stage?
Why is it not in my best interest?
Yeah. No, you don't get to think, oh, that's self-evident. It's like nothing's self-evident to the skeptic. Let's keep that in mind.
Oh. Well, so,
because if we're going to get skeptical here, we might as well go all the way to the bottom for dictating what's good for us.
No, because if you chop off my head, that is clearly not good for me. And it doesn't matter whether it was an act of free will or if it was my lawnmower.
It's clearly not good for you because you think you're valuable and worth preserving.
Yes.
Okay, that's the issue. Why do you think you're valuable and worth preserving?
Because I am the descendants of people who thought they were valuable and worth
Did he really just say that? Monkey value.
Arguments I've ever imagine appealing to the fact that your like lineage because monkey value, right? Monkey have value. I have value because monkey value.
right? And worth preserving, and the ones who didn't think that
pure bullshit. Matt, you just lost. Okay.
Why?
Monkey.
So this is a big problem with atheism, right? God, his holy character, would constitute an absolute moral standard. So when I say like anything is good or bad, it can be based on a standard of God's holy character. Well, without God's character, well, what standard are we appealing to say this has value and this doesn't have value? This is a big problem. And so Matt Dillahunty, his solution is monkey value. That, oh, well, you know, a monkey, long time ago, there was a great ape, and that great ape thought it had value. And so I evolved from the ape that thought it had value, so therefore I think I have value. Like, what is this? That's a dodge. So this is where, like, God, we need God. He helps us out. He gives us things like value, right? Oh man, Hassan Piker went on Nuxanor. You guys probably don't know who those YouTubers are. So what am I looking for? I'm looking for Ian. We're doing Rasul. This one. I'm nervous listening to Ian though.
Hold on. This goes under the umbrella tag, but it's actually called the divine conceptualism argument for God.
The umbrella tag. I don't know. Why don't you I would just run tag on him. I don't know.
Have you heard of it?
I think this gets too philosophical.
I'm familiar with the position of divine conceptualism, but sure, what are the premises?
Okay, it's quite simple, and it's causing a lot of atheists to stumble and like not able to answer questions.
Because it's too philosophical. I think I believe in the philosophy KISS, like keep it simple, stupid. That's what I think. I don't like the philosophy, bro.
Okay, so premise one would be that abstract universals exist.
Yes. So I think non-Christians have a trouble dealing with well, this is probably a bigger problem with but the problem with this is like, so he's going to go Platonism. So
And by abstract universals, I mean like concepts that we use to communicate with each other.
this is going to be a better argument against like a materialist. And that's why I think Ian is going to go to Platonism here. But if you do tag works on any non-Christian worldview.
To allow us to speak in a rational, meaningful way.
Okay.
So like me and you talking right now allows this. This is the reason why we're able to do these.
Yeah, for us to talk, there has to be mental structures that connect, and your mental structures have to connect to my mental structures, like be similar. Well,
Yo, how is not seeing enough evidence for something irrational?
because like there wasn't enough evidence for DNA 100 years ago, but if you said DNA doesn't exist, you'd be incorrect, or like germs or something, right?
I mean, yeah, you definitely would be incorrect, but I don't think it'd be irrational.
It is, because that's a fallacy. It's called an appeal to ignorance fallacy. I could say there's no evidence for atheism, therefore theism is true.
But that's not how it works.
It is how it works.
No, because atheism is the lack of belief or the lack of evidence.
You're confused though. So if your logic is I'm an atheist because there's not enough evidence for theism, that is
evidence that I see fit. I mean, some people might see other fit evidence, but
whatever
the standard in which I judge if something is fit as evidence, I don't see that.
You've made yourself the arbiter of truth, so you're basically fantasy Looney Tunes. Like you just decide what's true or what's not true. Like that's crazy. But
no, that's definitely not crazy. We all do that. Just as you decide that there is a true God, you're making yourself the own arbiter of truth. That's what we do as humans. And then we go and look at the masses and see what they're saying.
That's not what I say. I say God creates knowledge, not humans. You want to say
right? And the fact that you got to that is from your own judgment.
No, I say if you there's two positions, right? There's a system where like my system is God creates knowledge, and then human knowledge depends on God. Your system is that human knowledge does not depend on God, and that humans create knowledge. But if humans create knowledge, the knowledge is just a fantasy that you made up. So you couldn't know anything. So your system, your model of reality is busted, bro.
What is the definition of fantasy?
Busted big time.
What is the definition of fantasy?
Conceptual, subjective, opinion-based. It doesn't reference a fact of the external world.
That's your definition of fantasy?
Oh my God. Yes.
Okay, so let me just write that down. Fantasy equals what?
Why does this matter?
I'm just for my own research. What is fantasy? What are you equating fantasy to?
Your life is a fantasy because you've rejected God. So now truth.
Right. So now you don't know what you're talking about, so you're going to insult people. That's really smart. Yeah, I like that.
I'm just pointing out the state of affairs. Without God to make things true, what would make something true?
The state of truth doesn't have to have something to back it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
The truth is a fantasy, right? So anytime you talk about truth, when you live your life and you accept that there's things that you base your actions on those truths, you're just a fantasy. Full fantasy, yes. So in Christianity, we live in the real world, where reality, where there's like truth, objective knowledge, moral values, there's patterns in the world that are real. That's Christianity. You're trying to say that the world is fake.
Yeah, so that's actually not once what I said.
It's the logical entailment of your position.
You haven't even asked my position. So how would you?
It doesn't. Are you a Christian?
No.
Okay, so your non-Christian position is the entailment of that. I know you have a non-Christian position, and by that information, I can deduce that your position would result in total fantasy.
Right, and what are we defining fantasy as?
I already told you. It's like a concept, not real, not actual, conceptual, imaginary.
Right, so your God, that would fit under fantasy then?
No, my God is the concrete, single, causal, unifying principle that dictates all states of affairs, what is, what can, what cannot be.
Right, and how do we exemplify this?
You can't deny him without presupposing it.
No, how do we exemplify what you're saying is true?
You can't deny it without presupposing it.
How are you going to show me that this is?
I just told you can't deny it without presupposing it.
Okay, so then why are we taking this?
Christian God, go.
Deny him?
Yeah, try it. I say you can't deny the Christian God without presupposing. Try it. I say you can't deny the Christian God without presupposing the Christian God. Do you agree?
You can't deny it without presupposing his existence?
Yes, you have to assume the Christian God exists every time you say the Christian God does not exist, which means that he does exist due to the impossibility of the contrary.
No, you don't have to assume that he exists to say that he doesn't.
Prove it then. So,
okay.
What is ultimate that is not the Christian God?
The universe?
No, because the universe is contingent, and the ultimate is
on what? On what?
Contingent?
Yeah, what is it contingent upon?
It's contingent upon a concrete universal because...
Right, and how do you know this?
Because the universe is an abstract universal, so an abstract universal would be contingent upon a concrete universal. So because
right, and how does this how come the universe can't be the concrete universal, but your God can?
I just told you, so why are you bullshitting me?
You're the one that's...
So here's what's happening. This isn't an intellectual issue. This is a spiritual issue. You just have a bias. You're in rebellion against God.
No, God doesn't exist. I can't rebel against him.
Well, you're in self-denial, so I can't help you. But thanks for coming. I wish you well.
So you're just running, or what?
You're not really you're not really addressing what I'm telling you.
No, well, what you're saying, you're just asserting things like the universe has to have a concrete.
You deny that assertion without asserting it.
What?
Can you deny the assertion without asserting it? So how do you ground logic without God?
Logic can be grounded in many things on the atheistic.
So you're not. So you're just ignoring what I'm saying. So
that's literally you just asked me.
Yeah, I'm asking you what's absolute, eternal, unchanging, universal. That's concrete. That would ground logic.
The universe.
That's an abstraction. So that's a contradiction. I just explained to you the universe is a contradiction. So why don't you just admit that you have a bias against God? Because all I have to do is ask you a simple question, and you have to do mental gymnastics to deny reality. So obviously God exists, right?
No, there's no evidence of God.
Mental gymnastics to deny the obvious truth of the Christian God.
It's not truth. You're just
doing mental gymnastics.
No, you're just making a claim.
Why is he doing mental gymnastics and you're denying what I'm saying? That's crazy. I wonder who could make this person believe lies? Who could make this person possibly? What kind of being?
And who could it have been? Let's see, I don't know. Let me think. Let me knock on Mr. Noggin. Who could trick us into doing that? Could have been Satan.
Absolutely obliterated.
Hello.
Hello.
I disagree with one.
Oh, good luck with that.
Thank you. That's why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think it's objectively proven? Do you think there's no contradictions or like logical fallacies in there?
I think it's the necessary precondition to even talk about logic, that without the true statements of the Bible, you wouldn't be able to make logic real.
What grounds the Bible?
God.
What grounds God?
God.
Okay, all right, circle. But why would God
Yeah, but
create?
the difference is like
Thank you for
my
that.
my circle is like internally consistent and externally verifiable, and any other non-Christian circle, it'd be like an open circle that would be arbitrary and inconsistent.
Yes, but your argument is that there are no grounds. Your circle has no grounds. You're just saying that the circle is a full circle.
You're not under no, it does, because I'm appealing to a rational, self-explaining, necessary being as the ground of existence, truth, and value.
Okay, I agree there has to be something, but
Okay,
I do not believe.
but you can only identify and defend what it is. It'd have to be personal, so it has to reveal itself to us. So like how could you know it apart from it revealing? And only the Christian Bible contains the necessary being with the revealed attribute set to make this conversation possible. No other worldview this conversation would be possible.
What does God want?
God wants a loving relationship with you. So he
With
just
me?
wants you to repent from loving the world, because we tend to love the world when we don't love God. And he just wants you to turn from the world and turn to him and love him.
So everything in the Bible it says, I'm not too sure, but it's something about stuff is going to happen and the universe is going to be perfect, right? That's the end result, a perfect universe.
Yes, there will be heaven, and there will be no suffering, and it'll be all good. Yes.
Okay, so God desires a perfect universe in the end.
Yes.
Okay. God existed before everything else, correct?
Yes.
So when God existed and God was the universe, was that not a perfect state of affairs?
Yes.
Okay, and God desires a perfect state of affairs. So why would he create us? He basically had a working bicycle, broke the bicycle, and then now is fixing the bicycle again.
But then now you're forgetting the part where he desires a loving relationship with his children.
Yes, but that would be selfish because he's creating all these bad things that happen solely for his own personal want.
When a man and a woman love each other, they want to share that love, and then they have a baby.
God isn't a man or a woman.
A family. Well, but God is triune, so he's three persons that God is a loving relationship without creation, and prior to creation, he is love, and God, having a love in his nature, as part of his nature, wants to share that love, and so he creates us not as robots, but beings with a free will choice. And originally he made it good where everything was in perfect harmony and there was no death or suffering. But what happened, we rebelled against God. And so now we're in a broken world, but he still loves us. He has a plan of redemption through his son, Christ, who died for your sins, for man's rebellion against God.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, wait, hold on, there's a chat. You have him at the God having a perfect state of affairs and then creating. Yeah, I'm saying God had the world. He had a perfect universe, which is the end result. It's what's being worked towards. He had a perfect universe at one point.
Creation, redemption, and then, heaven, restoration.
Okay, he had a perfect universe and then created something that he knew would make the universe not perfect. So he had a perfect universe, which is what he wanted.
Yes.
And then created something to make the universe not perfect.
Right.
And then now is making it perfect again. Does that not seem redundant?
Well, no, because you got to remember God's love, right? So love entails a risk. You can't have love without freedom, and you can't have freedom without responsibility and risk. So when mankind when we used our freedom to rebel against God, you got to understand, we committed an unspeakable crime against our Creator, and we all deserve to burn in hell forever. We all deserve that. God is merciful to us. We don't deserve. He's been nicer to us than we ever deserve.
He didn't have to create us. The universe was perfect. There was no reason to create us. If he is love, then he already had love.
Who are you to tell God what to do? He's God. You're looking
because he's causing people to suffer for no reason. If God is perfect, then he wouldn't cause people to suffer for no reason if the universe is already perfect.
No reason according to you. God has a plan of creation, redemption, and restoration.
Yes, but he objectively caused bad things to happen when it already was perfect.
Okay, so your plan is better than God's plan. Are you smarter than God?
I never said I had a plan. I said that plan wasn't good.
The entailment of what you're saying is that you're smarter than God and you have a better plan than God. Are you freaking kidding me?
How did I say that?
That's exactly the entailment of what you're saying. You're
Explain
questioning God's plan. God
questioning is saying you are better?
Yes, you're saying that this doesn't make sense, that that God's plan is stupid. That's what you're saying.
Yes, how does that entail that I have my own plan? I'm just saying that's not a good plan.
Okay, well,
I don't know what else could be done. I just know that's not what should have been done.
I just, I don't know, man.
Yeah, you don't.
Because you're just not connecting the dots here. And you're just...
I'm not connecting the dots, but you can't answer my questions.
I did answer your question.
Yeah, man. Have a good day.
Okay.
Won't somebody please think of the children? Think of the children. Won't somebody please think of the children?
No, stop. Think of the children.
Think of the children. Won't somebody please think of the children?
Pretty much. That's called emotional blackmail, by the way. Why don't they go, why does God let a 90-year-old man unalive peacefully in his sleep? Never say that. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Hello, I'm doing a live where I debate Christianity and atheism.
Sure. No, yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I know this is a very hot topic right now, but I'm assuming we're both going to be doing this in good faith.
I wouldn't assume that about you, because
Why would you not assume that about me?
I have a vast experience of bad faith actors when I debate.
Okay, well, would you be willing to go out on a limb for me?
Yes, because love, we're not supposed to be suspicious, I suppose.
Okay. So, and I wanna start this off by saying
I just have low expectations is all. But anyways, go ahead.
I just want to start this off by saying, you're allowed to believe whatever you want. The fact that I do not believe this doesn't mean that you are not allowed to. But I want to talk about why do you think Christianity is objectively proven? You use the word objectively there.
Right, because I think when we look at, there's two models of reality. We have a God world, a God model of reality, and then we have a non-God model of reality. If we do a conceptual analysis on these models, we see that the non-God model is impossible, and that only the God model can be true.
What is the God model?
The model. So, if we think about knowledge, there's two ways of knowing things. One way
you're coming at this from a philosophical point of view. You're doing a Descartes.
Well, because God is a metaphysical claim, so we have to talk about metaphysics, because God makes facts true. If God exists, then God creates all facts except himself.
Provided that God does exist.
Sure. So I'd have to prove God as sort of a system of truth. And I'd say, if we deny God in our system of truth, then we're just left with human minds. And then human minds would basically decide what's true and not true. And
human minds already decide what's true and not true. I mean, haven't you ever heard the phrase, history is decided by the victors?
Sure, but that's your position. And my position is that God decides what's true or not true. So in my model of reality, it makes
So there is an objective reality that you say that is defined by God. Can I ask you this question?
Sure.
What makes let's all agree that something bad. Murder is bad.
Wait.
Or we could go even further. Rape is bad.
Wait. We have to say schmurder.
Oh, really? Schmurder.
Yeah.
Schmurder is bad. Schmurder, Jesus, jeepers. Schmurder is bad. We can agree on that?
Yes.
My question for you is schmurder bad because God says that?
Yes, because when you say make the claim schmurder is bad, that's called an absolute.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't phrase my question. Is schmurder bad because God says that, or is schmurder bad independently of that? If God decided tomorrow to say schmurder is good, would that change objective reality?
Right. So we would say that God has an unchanging nature. And like based on his unchanging nature, schmurder is bad. So it's not arbitrary that God's just deciding it. Because it's based on something that doesn't change.
So God is heeding to something. Doesn't that sort of imply that God is heeding to something above him?
No, because it's based on him. He is the source. God is the standard.
So schmurder is only bad because God says though. I'm not meaning to like paint you into a corner, and I don't mean to be like,
Yeah, but it's important that it's bad in virtue of God's like revealed character, where it's unchanging. He has this unchanging nature as a foundation for an absolute claim. Like schmurder is bad. Yeah.
So schmurder, if I'm hearing you correctly, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Schmurder is bad because God says it is bad.
Yeah, but
would you not then? Does that not then open the door to say if something is only bad because God says it's bad? Does it in that way? Does it not sort of lack an objective bad?
No, because the key thing is he has an unchanging nature, so that's why it'd be objective. God is the ultimate objective absolute.
Define unchanging nature, if you don't mind.
Invariant.
No, well, like, are we? I am assuming that we're talking about the Christian God in this discussion.
Yeah.
But so if God is unchanged, then do you accept Old Testament? The God in the Old Testament is very different from the God in the New Testament.
No.
Aquinas' God is, a derivative of Aristotle's God. We're dealing with a lot of gods. We should probably nail down which one specifically we're talking about.
That's disingenuous. That's not true at all. There's no different God in the Old Testament, or there's not a lot of gods. We have the God of the Christian Bible. It's one.
Then what about my Aquinas? Aquinas' God is very derivative of Aristotle's God.
The Bible. I'm talking about the Bible. I'm not talking about what Aquinas thinks. I'm claiming the God of the Bible, Scripture, is the necessary precondition for truth, science, our conversation. You can't deny the Bible without presupposing the Bible. That's what I'm saying.
I acknowledge the Bible. I deny that I deny that some of the divine all of the divine claims in the Bible are false. I don't deny that some of those things. The Bible.
You're ignoring what I'm saying. You can't rationally deny any truth statement in the Bible.
That depends on what you think is true. I think
it doesn't depend.
Some of what the Bible says is true. Some of what the Bible says is not true. Were there two cities named with some names like Sodom and Gomorrah? Probably. Two Iron Age cities during the time that could have been destroyed. That's very possible. The Levant was a very active area for civilization back then. But does that mean then?
You to sit here and lecture. You're just ignoring what I'm saying. Like, why do people do this? You talked about engaging in good faith. That's not good. That's bad faith, homie. I forgot. He talked about engaging in good faith. Annabelle, are you a biological woman? Because I'll prove you let's get married and I can prove that I am a straight man. Yes. I never did any. That's just slander. You're just believing slander. I never did anything gray. I love women. I'm a feminist. Look, if you don't believe me, then I'll marry you and prove it. So that's what's up. So you can unless of course, I'm not, no offense, but if you're a transgender woman, I probably don't want to marry you because that's just not my thing, no offense. But if you're a biological woman and you're not like 80 or like, too young, if you're like 25 or older, I will marry you and I will prove that I am not gray. If you don't believe me. So the offer's on the table. What does it even matter? Like, I didn't do anything illegal.
Calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
You guys act like I did something illegal. Plus, this was 8 years ago. So what I did in my bedroom 8 years ago, why does that matter? Well, I guess it wasn't really my bedroom, but pretty much it's just like, it's like a bedroom activity thing. Like, it's not, yeah, I get that. It was like on a website, but I only went on there like 2 or 3 times. And I only had like 2 or 3 viewers. I was just like lonely and trying to talk to women, and I'm a pathetic loser, right? And I would like to get married and have a family, but like women are too smart. They can figure out I'm a piece of crap and like who's going to want to marry me, right? So that's why I have to do like, perverted stuff like that. But that was before I was a Christian, so I'm a Christian. I never really even had an issue because I didn't even like doing that, right? So it's not even like I already repented from that before I even became a Christian. Because I didn't even enjoy it. I did it like maybe 3 times, 2 or 3 times. And it's not a big deal. Like what guy doesn't like pleasure himself from time to time? What's the big deal? Like, every guy pleasures themselves, so what? You guys act like I committed a crime or something. It's just weird. Look, I'm a sinner. I sinned. I made a mistake. Okay? Mr. Rogers says that we should forgive. Okay? That's what Mr. Rogers says. And I'm like a Christian, so I should be forgiven.
I had a professor one time. I think he's on page 20 or 22. His name was Dr. William Orr. Right. And he said, Fred, there's one thing that evil cannot stand, and that is forgiveness. And you notice the rest of the page is blank. Yes. It needs a lot of time to think about that.
Look, I'm a pervert, okay? Forgive me. We have too much cancel culture. We should forgive each other. We're too. It's like, this is crazy, this cancel culture stuff. Welcome, Chloe.
Hi.
Hello.
I'll just have a few questions.
Sure.
So, do you think that like abortion in all cases is wrong? Like, no circumstances?
I think it has to do with intention, like your heart. So if your intention is to save life, I wouldn't really consider that wrong, or abortion even. I'd put a different label on that. But
so like, what about grape?
Well, I think we should punish That's awful. We should punish the person that grapes.
So do you not agree that if the woman was forced to carry the pregnancy that's a product of grape, then that would punish her too?
I think the grape laws are too lenient by far.
Can you just answer the question now?
No, because I think what we're doing is that now we have another human life. And so
Yeah, so I don't care about something that's smaller than a grain of rice that has absolutely no consciousness whatsoever. I care about the woman that was graped.
Okay, but we get our value from God, and God cares about.
So God doesn't exist. Are you aware of that?
No, we now know that God.
So and just because you believe in God, it doesn't mean that everybody believes in God. So no, you can get your values from wherever you want, but no, not everybody is going to follow them because not everybody believes in God.
Sure, but we're having a debate, and I can prove that God exists. So.
Okay, so prove it.
Sure. So let's see here. I don't know what's a good way to put it. So the self-attesting Christ of Scripture is necessary for like us to communicate, for there to be for there to be meaning in the world, for us to be rational. And without him, our very reasoning would collapse into futility.
But I asked you to prove God. But I asked you to prove God.
Yeah, I'm saying he's proven by he's the necessary being, without which our all of reality would collapse into absurdity and arbitrariness.
Yeah. Do you know what? You've actually really changed my mind. Like,
well, I don't expect to change your mind.
No, you have. Like, that's wild. That's absolutely crazy. Oh my god! Like, if I had like known this before, that's crazy.
I just think it's important that we should admit we all have a bias, and my bias.
Yeah.
I take the Bible as the Word of God.
Yeah.
You have a bias that you don't.
So have you read the Bible or?
Yes.
Oh, you have.
Yeah, I'm in a Bible study.
So you think that the quote values in the Bible are correct? Like they're good, they're okay.
Like we were just talking about forgiveness. I think the world needs more forgiveness. What do you think?
I don't care because that's not why I asked you.
What'd you ask me?
I asked you to prove that God exists.
I did.
And you've just been rambling. That's not proof. What kind of proof is that?
Like when you take candy from a baby, you feel bad inside, right?
I mean, I've never took candy from a baby, but you know.
Well, have you ever felt bad for doing something?
No.
Okay. Well, you're being uncooperative. You've never felt guilty in your whole life. That's not
What's
real.
going on, homo?
Welcome, Matt.
What's going on? Is this e-bike?
This is e-bike.
What's going on, man? How's the chatterbait going?
Well, I did that like 8
dudes.
My live isn't really about like what I do in my bedroom.
Chloe, he's a homo that's in the closet, and Darth Dawkins doesn't really like him. Well, maybe he does. Does Darth know that you're gay, or at least bi? Are you bi? It's okay if you're bi.
I'm not.
You're gay?
Okay. Thanks for coming. I like you. You're special. You're a unique butterfly, and I like you just the way you are. And you made my day better. Thank you. Welcome, Jagger.
Hey, sorry, I just was going to say something to that person.
Oh.
But he's gone now. But I just would like to say, you guys have such a problem with Christians believing in God, while you submit to Satan and the world, and come up on a panel to insult somebody. What does that do for you? You know what I mean? Other than feed your ego.
See,
You know?
see, they don't. The thing is, like, they don't see. We're justified by Christ and what Christ did.
Amen.
But if you don't have Christ to justify you, you try to justify yourself. And
I know. It just makes me.
That's a way
It's
to
just
like.
so sad, man. It's like a blinders over their eyes. It is what it is. You know.
How they justify themselves is when they do the cancel culture and they call out.
Oh yeah.
When the other person is the bad, then they're the good. So all the bad in the world is in me. I'm the bad guy, and they're the good guy. So that's self-justification because they don't have Christ, and that's why they do that.
What's crazy though is that those people are the people with the most skeletons in their closet, the most, you know, those are the people who are really doing terrible things behind closed doors. And that's why it's like a projection. That's why they act that way without even, you know, it just comes out because they have so much, you know, darkness that they're holding on to instead of, you know, getting on a journey to let that all go. And it's only going to get worse. I'll just tell you guys now.
They want to act like they're skeptics and rational, and they need evidence to believe things, but then they spread internet rumors and slander.
Yeah, it's just programming and regurgitation, basically.
Yeah, I don't like this person, therefore I'll just believe this because I want it to be true. So, but I'm not. I don't think I can change anyone's mind. So if people
No, we can't. No, we
do
can't
what they
convince
want,
anybody.
I'm
Yeah.
just here to, like, you know, defend the faith, I suppose. So.
Yeah, you can plant the seeds, and you know we do what we want with them. You know, it's good. You know, on my journey, what you know, atheists and people like that actually led me closer to Christ because, you know, my journey began in 2017. You know, that spiritual pull, I didn't know, you know, quite what it was, but as I continued on, my eyes started to open up a little bit. So those people led me to want to seek the truth further. So I take it all. I'm thankful for all of it.
Yeah, God uses evil.
Amen. Yeah.
Evil.
They think that they're doing something else, not realizing that they could be leading people straight to Christ. You know, meanwhile their intention is to take us away, you know. So
yeah.
But that you know, that's not something that they're ready to understand yet. They'll see that when that comes time on their journey, you know. We all have a journey. We get, you know.
Life is kind of funny, and ultimately you reap what you sow. So
Yeah, you do. Yep. Amen. But yeah, that's all. I guess I just wanted to, be a broken record because you know, you can't really tell anybody anything, but you never know who's listening and who might say,
it's nice to have someone say something nice after a barrage of hate like that. But that's cool. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Have a good one. Bye.
Oh, whoops. Chloe is already.
Why did you kick me?
I can't remember. My memory is terrible.
I was being quite nice, I think. So I'm just confused at why you kicked me.
I think we had reached like a point where we're going in a circle. I think because you're denying my argument, and so
Yeah,
that's.
so you weren't really giving me an argument. You was just talking about like values and stuff, and like God and.
Oh, I remember now.
I told you that not everyone believes
I asked
in
you
God.
if you
So.
felt guilty for doing something wrong, and you said no, and that's.
Yeah, because I don't do bad things, so I have nothing to feel guilty about.
Everyone has like made one mistake in their life. You can't. I don't believe that unless you're like. Are you like 8 years old? Maybe. Welcome, Savage. Are you there?
Sorry, I was muted. Hello?
Hello.
I was in here about an hour or so ago. I tried to speak with Darth. He's a little steamrolly. I just wanted to ask you a couple questions, if that's okay.
That's fine. Yeah, sure.
I'd like to ask if do you believe that there are logical fallacies in the Bible?
Well, I think there's like nuance because we have to think that like the authors of the Bible aren't using analytic philosophy, they're using continental philosophy.
Yes.
You know yin yang?
Yeah.
So that's the idea of like true contradictions. It's like black and white are just two sides of the same coin. So they're not a contradiction because everything that's black is white and everything that's white is black.
Yeah, that's why, I mean, honestly, it really kind of just creates one whole gray area.
There's contradictions like that where like God's hidden and he reveals himself, but in the contradiction, it's like intentional. We're supposed to derive like a truth through the contradiction. It's a dialectical way to reason.
Yeah.
It's a type of reasoning. It's just a different type of reasoning because like analytical philosophy isn't the only way to reason. So
Well, I mean, because like I appreciated what you said earlier about like everybody having their own bias and like acknowledging that obviously I have an atheistic bias, you have a religious bias. Being as somebody, you haven't always had God in your life. Am I correct about that?
I haven't always been a Christian. I became a Christian at 37.
Okay. I mean, hey, listen, man, that's fine. If you found God, that's awesome. I would just say, like, coming from that side of, having that in mind, you would say that it's morals don't just come from God. You would a part of you would have said at one point that tens of thousands of years of human interaction would help, substantiate and dictate, positive and negative human interaction, right?
No, because like my opinion doesn't make gravity real. You get that, right?
Okay, yes.
My opinion can't make a morality real, and then we have to make morality real because it is real. So we need God to make it real.
In a way, I somewhat understand what you're saying, but I mean, think about Old Testament, like think about like actual biblical scripture, where things like beating slaves as long as they didn't die was okay, owning slaves was okay.
These are all lies. So if you beat your slave, you would get fined. You're not allowed to beat your slaves. Also, you're not allowed to hold people captive against their will. Anyone could go free at any time. So those are lies. You couldn't own someone's property.
Okay, I guess I just misread things. My apologies.
Because atheists are lying about what the Bible says because they're doing a word concept fallacy. So like I love pizza and I love my mother. But is that the same concept? No.
No. Right.
Slave has a bunch of different concepts, but the most recent concept of slave is the antebellum South.
Right.
That's what people think of, but that's nothing what that word is referring to. It's nothing like that.
Okay. Hey, man, I just wanted to say real quick, like, I appreciate you as a person. You're a very patient dude. As far as whatever you did in your past, man, you're right. People fuck up. They make mistakes. But, like, as long as, you're willing to, apologize for it,
I didn't even do anything
most people, right, yeah, you didn't do anything objectively wrong. I feel like maybe your opinions about things in that manner nowadays sort of contradicts your previous actions, and maybe that's why people are giving you shit for it.
But that doesn't make me a hypocrite.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes people trolls, and keep your head up about it, bro. You didn't fucking kill anybody.
Be careful about TikTok. Yeah.
You would you also agree that like it could maybe be difficult to have a reasonable argument with somebody who's saying things like because God said so?
Yes, because ultimately I'm trying. Like, hopefully, God willing, I'm on God's side. I mean, on God's side. I guess I don't ultimately know, but yeah. So you're kind of having to argue against God, but that's what we're talking about. Like we're talking about if God exists or not. So you kind of have to argue against God.
Oh, of course. I mean, you have to acknowledge him to refute him.
It's unfair, I think, because it's like, how can you argue against God as a human? So I agree it's unfair, but like, what do you want me to do? That's the debate. So
Yeah, I'm this time I really I got some notes together. Honestly, I wanted to go on Ian's podcast earlier today, or not podcast, his live, and talk about simulation theory, because that's been on my mind a lot. And I mean, even that is technically belief in a materialistic higher entity, So that could.
It's a model of reality. So these are worldviews that we're talking. So this is where we clash. See, I think when we're talking about God, we're talking about like a model of reality. So that's the clash. It's not a matter of evidences, because evidences require a paradigm to interpret the evidence.
Correct.
When we're talking about God would constitute a paradigm. So you can't use evidence to prove a paradigm. It doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I have for you, man. You have yourself a wonderful night.
Mm-hmm. You too. Well, evidence in the traditional sense, I should say, like how we usually use evidence. But there would be a transcendental proof. But okay, you have a good one too. Wish you well. Yeah, I don't want to say like there's no evidence for God, right? Because I think I'm making an objective proof, but it's just a different type of evidence. Like it's not empirical, it's not rational, it's a transcendental type of evidence. Darth has returned. I should get.
What should we cue? Should we cue dun 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 dun
Yeah.
dun dun or dun dun dun?
They'll probably get me with like copyright though, I bet, if I do the Darth Vader music.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that would be nice to do. Maybe get away with it on YouTube. But...
Yeah, while I was eating, I was listening to George Lucas explain how he, when made the first movie and the problems he was encountering with the movie studios. They had no idea that it was going to be this massive success.
Yep. I know. I have a friend who's like super obsessed with Star Wars, so I kind of know a lot about Star Wars. All he really did is he just blended a bunch of mythologies into like a space opera, basically. And he says the whole thing's about family. There's sort of a little Christian mythology where like sort of what happens is like the how does it work again? So the father forgives. How does it work again? God dang it, I can't remember now. Where how does Vader the father's love for the son turns him to the light side, something like that, guy. It was like only Luke could bring Vader to the light. Like only the love of like the father and the son could change him or something like that. But I guess it's like the father is sacrificed because Vader, I don't know. It's not really Christian at all, I guess. It's a lot of like he was into the samurai.
Lucas was greatly influenced by the late mythologist Joseph Campbell.
In the samurai movies, what was that guy?
Yeah, I forget what the name of the movie is, but there's a lot of elements borrowed from that movie.
Yeah, Disney totally ruined Star Wars. That's so crazy to me. And like Carrie Fisher's unalive now, so they like missed their opportunity to have the original cast.
Well, she'd be still alive, but she had a long history of alcohol and substance abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, a long history of it. She's unfortunate that,
I'm at like 3 hours now. I'm getting kind of tired. I might take a break, actually.
Okay.
But thanks for coming up, man. I think it was a good live. I might upload this one. All right, everyone. Have a good day.
All right.